I grew up in the mountains of Colorado. After graduating from high school, he entered the university in Boulder, Colorado. In college, I trained in the U.S. Army ROT program, so upon graduation, I was immediately called to active duty. I was assigned to the Special Forces Group as an intelligence officer. After completing training at SOG, I was sent to serve in the Middle East region, the so-called Sandbox. There I met several CIA employees, including the field agent in charge of the local unit, George Mason. One night, he was seriously wounded in a shootout with terrorists. I helped take him to the operating room and even assisted during the operation. While he was recovering, I visited him every day, and over time we became close friends. We had several long conversations during his recovery. In the end, he invited me to join the CIA. At that time, this seemed like a good idea to me. This way, it would be possible to reduce the likelihood of getting a bullet from a terrorist. I agreed. I was transferred from the U.S. Army to the CIA, along with all my service records, and then sent back to the U.S. for training. I've never worked at the Langley headquarters. Instead, I was immediately sent to train at the so-called Farm, a secret CIA training center. In addition to the standard spy training, I was given numerous tests and assessments to determine in which area I could perform best. I was eventually assigned to a secretive group known as the Men in Black, or simply MIB. Little did I know that it was George who recommended me for this job. Over time, we both advanced in our careers. Years later, George became director of the CIA, and I headed the MIB office in Denver. I realize that many of you will immediately think of two films with the same name, but Men in Black has actually been around since 1947 or so. Their activity began with the fact that they convinced eyewitnesses who allegedly saw a UFO to admit that they observed clouds, swamp gas, or other natural phenomena, but not unidentified flying objects. Since then, the government has found many other uses for the MIB besides hiding information about UFOs. For example, I was once sent to the wife of a military man who was on a long business trip abroad. She hasn't heard from him for 9 months. 3 months later, she began contacting the army to find out what happened to her husband. But the military only pretended that they knew nothing. Then she began to contact other government agencies. It got to the point where she contacted a U.S. senator, and then something had to be done urgently. Somehow the army managed to make contact with her husband, and he secretly delivered a letter for his wife, confirming that he was alive and on a secret mission. I was instructed to deliver this letter. I explained to my wife that her husband was working undercover and could not get in touch so as not to disrupt the operation and endanger himself. I asked her not to do anything that might reveal his location or jeopardize him. As a consolation, I assured her that he would return home in about 2 months. Denver office. MIB offices are located not only in Washington, D.C., but also in other cities throughout the United States. MIB's Denver office oversees operations in 6 states. Our unit employed 5 people. Our office was located in the Federal Center, a square mile of territory where most of the government agencies in Denver were located. We occupied several rooms in the 67 building, which was also used by the Bureau of Reclamation, or as we called them, the levee engineers. This agency designs dams, including the famous Hoover Dam in Nevada. Our office was small but comfortable, nothing fancy, just a workspace. Our receptionist sat in the front, and behind her office were our 4 separate offices. When we were in the office, we wore normal casual clothes so that if someone walked in, it would look like a typical engineering office. We also had a locked storage room with a security camera pointed at the door. Inside was a small arsenal of weapons, as well as surveillance equipment and other electronic devices. In one of the closets were 3 black suits with ties and polished black shoes for each of us. There were also various uniforms from different companies that we used for camouflage during surveillance. Our office had a private bathroom where we could change clothes. The administrator was responsible for ensuring that our suits were always clean and ironed. We were not allowed to take them home. This was one of the precautions to maintain the secrecy of our work. When we needed to make personal contact, we wore a black suit, white shirt, black tie and mirrored sunglasses. Previously, in the 50s, MIB employees also wore black felt hats, but this tradition has now disappeared. Every day we put on a white shirt from home to be ready for urgent calls. When we went out, in uniform, we did not wear any identification cards, and all tags and labels on our clothes were removed in advance. Our motto was, "We weren't here, we don't exist." We had 3 vehicles at our disposal, a black sedan and 2 large black SUVs with tinted windows. There was a small gym at the bottom of the building that we shared with the dam engineers, as we needed to keep ourselves in top physical shape. Sometimes our meetings with people turned into physical confrontations, and sometimes we had to use force to calm down someone. As a rule, when we were in uniform, we were always armed. My team consisted of 4 people. Janice is our administrative officer, who is actually a trained CIA operative. She got tired of spy work and transferred to me. She excels in hand-to-hand combat, making her our first line of defense in the event of an invasion. Plus, she's a damn good shot and keeps a loaded .45 automatic pistol in her desk. Rob is a former Delta Force fighter who was later recruited and trained by the CIA as a field agent. He is my muscle strength. His height is 195 centimeters, and his weight is 132 kilograms. Ralph has a bachelor's and master's degree in computer science. He previously worked for the NSA, so he is my hacking and surveillance specialist. Finally, Tex is a former FBI agent. He is a walking legal encyclopedia. When I was in the Army, I fell in love with a beautiful woman, but things didn't work out. It turned out that during my long deployment in the Middle East, she cheated on me. When I returned to the States, I talked to her. I asked why she cheated, and she said she accidentally fell in love, but didn't want to send me a Dear John letter. After I returned, we had a few loud conversations, but in the end, I just left. In addition, she said that she was going to marry another guy. I hope he has better luck with her than I did. I met my wife about 2 years after my assignment in Denver. I don't want to bore you with long stories about our dates. Let me just say that she is a beautiful red-haired woman and a real savage in bed. Before our wedding, the IB checked her, however. Like all members of the National AB team, I was ordered never to reveal to my wife exactly who I was working for or what I was doing. According to the official legend, I was supposed to say that I worked for the Bureau of Reclamation. By the way, my salary does come from there, but I do not report to them. I report to the director of the CIA in Washington, although there are rumors that in the future we will report to the director of the Department of Homeland Security. Anne and I have been happily married for almost 9 years. We have 2 daughters, Christy, she's 9, and Sarah, she's 7. We had sex a lot when we were dating, so our eldest daughter was conceived by accident before we got married. Anne works at a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility that is about 10 minutes from our home. She is the personal assistant to the production director, the person who runs the plant. Her boss recently left to join another pharmaceutical company, so the head office in Basel, Switzerland, sent an interim manager to run the plant until a successor is hired. Present tense. Our family life was great until about 3 months ago when things started to change. Then Anne became distracted and began to ignore me and the children. Our intimate life has decreased from every evening to once every 2 days. Over time, it got worse. It seemed that her thoughts were somewhere far away. Before these events, I could not have dreamed of a better wife and mother for our children. She loved them, literally spoiled them. But over the past 3 months, her behavior has changed. The children noticed that she became irritable and overly critical. They felt that she was angry with them. I realized that something was happening to her, and several times I asked her to talk to me. But every time she got angry and claimed that I was making it all up. For many years, we had an established routine. At 9:30 p.m., the children went to bed, and we went into the bedroom, read for about an hour, and then made love and fell asleep. Yes, we made love every night. We used to read paper books, I spy novels, detective stories. Over the last year, we have switched to reading stories online. She still reads detective stories, and I still read stories on an adult site. When it was time for intimacy, she would put down her laptop, put her head on my shoulder, and start kissing my face and biting my ear. Sometimes, when I was especially horny, I would attack her before she even had time to take the laptop, and then our love lasted longer. 3 months ago, in addition to her detachment, our intimate life began to fade away from daily sex to once every 2 days. 2 months ago, it got even worse up to 2 or 3 times a week. And in the last month, everything has been reduced to Saturday nights. When we switched 2, 3 times a week and stopped being proactive. Now I had to be the initiator, and although I didn't mind, she almost always rejected my service requests. I haven't been getting enough sex for a long time, and as a result, I also began to become irritable and angry. For the past month, the kids and I have literally been tiptoeing around the house so as not to piss her off. Friday late evening. And I had just finished a production report that we needed to send to headquarters when my new interim boss, Ted, walked into the office and closed the door behind him. "And I really like you. I really enjoy spending time with you, and I think you enjoy being with me too. I want to get to know you better, so I have a proposal. I would like to spend a few hours with you tomorrow afternoon, 2 or 3 hours, to just talk and enjoy being together, without rushing after work. Tomorrow I will call you on your mobile to ask you to come to the office. It is important that your husband hears your answer. You will tell him that this is an urgent matter that cannot be put off until Monday. You come to the office, leave your car there, and I'll pick you up. We will go to my place to chat calmly. I'll buy good wine. And when you decide it's time to go back, I'll take you back to the car. If someone checks, it will look like you were at work," he said. "I don't know, Ted. On Saturdays, we usually have plans. The children have football. I like our communication after work, but it's not serious. I don't love you, and I'm happily married. Yes, our meetings are pleasant and help to take our minds off work, but I don't want it to go any further," Anne answered. "Anne, I'm very attached to you, and I just want to get to know you better. We will only talk and drink wine, but maybe before I take you back, we could cuddle a little. It would be great to do this in the comfort of my apartment rather than in my car, and maybe we could go a little further. But I promise to stop if you tell me to," Ted said. "Ted, I don't want to go any further. I'm married and have children. Honestly, we've already gone further than I'm comfortable with. Yes, I liked it, but I don't want to go further. I'm starting to feel guilty about what we're doing. Our meetings have become more sensual. Now you bring me pleasure in a new way, and I feel more and more intimacy between us. Both of these moments for me were a line that I didn't want to cross. We insert parts of our bodies into each other. This already looks like cheating or something we shouldn't do. I never intended for this to happen. I want to go back to what we had because I feel guilty. Ted, I don't want to ruin my marriage. I love my husband. Besides, he's been acting suspicious lately. I'm afraid he might know something about us," I said. "Look, it was just innocent fun. We didn't do anything wrong. Let's just limit ourselves to kissing from time to time, and I will sometimes please you, but I want to stop everything else, no giving pleasure and so on. Okay? Anna, when we kiss, I feel that you want to continue, but we usually don't have enough time. Tomorrow we will have enough time to enjoy this moment, and maybe even push the boundaries a little, for example, undress while kissing. This will make them even more enjoyable. Clothes just get in the way. Anna, we both like what we have now, passionate kisses, your amazing pleasures, and I know that you enjoy it when you feel good when I caress you. God, you moan so loudly that I can immediately understand how much you like it. I love taking care of your body and your needs. I'm sure we'd both like to go a little further, like stripping down, because that's not possible in the car after work," Ted said. "Ted, I don't know. I admit that getting naked while kissing can be fun, but I'm afraid you'll take advantage of this moment. I'll think about meeting tomorrow, but let's just talk. If we just talk, I'll please you before I leave." "Agreed," Anna asked. "Listen, tomorrow we will leave your car here at work so that your husband cannot suspect anything. He still won't be able to enter the building because the security system blocks all the doors. There's no way he'll know you're not here. Tell him that if he wants to talk to you, he can call you on his cell phone because the office phone doesn't work on weekends. This way you can answer him from my apartment, and he will never guess that you are not at work. Anna, I will leave soon, and this will all end. Let's just think of tomorrow as a little vacation from the family. When I leave in a couple of months, you'll be able to return to your family life, perhaps even more enthusiastically, because you've had this little break. He explained. I don't know, Ted, Anna said. I'll call around 9 in the morning. See you tomorrow, Anna. Ted said as he walked out of her office. My boss, Ted, started inviting me to lunch almost every day since he arrived. One day he kissed me, and from that moment on, after dinner, we began to kiss often. Ted wanted more time for us to take our time, so we started meeting after work and making out in his car for half an hour at a time. At first, we just kissed and lightly touched each other over our clothes. Lately, Ted has been showing me more attention than before, going beyond just touching. Although I am somewhat pleased about this, I understand that the situation has gone further than it should have. One day, he asked me to respond to his initiative, and I met him halfway. The last time he asked me more and more insistently to do something that I'm not sure I want. While I generally enjoy these moments of intimacy, with Ted I feel like we've already crossed the line. On Saturday, I want to talk to him and tell him that I want to go back to innocent kisses. Kissing Ted is fun and reminds me of my college days. What I like most is the attention he gives me, even more than the kisses themselves. It's so nice to know that a young man likes a woman my age. I know this is temporary because Ted will be leaving for headquarters in 2 months, and I will have a new boss. Then I can return to my family life, to Jim and the children. No one will know about Ted and me, especially since it's mostly just innocent kisses. We behave carefully so that our colleagues do not notice anything. We go out for lunch at different times, and after work we also leave the office separately. I'm pretty sure Jim doesn't suspect anything, although he says I've changed and wants to talk to me. But I don't understand what exactly changed in my behavior after Ted appeared. Even if Jim finds out, he will, of course, be angry, but he will not do anything serious because these are just innocent kisses. This didn't affect him at all. Our meetings usually end a certain way, after which Ted loses interest in kissing. One day, there was a small incident, his suit got dirty, and he had to take it to the dry cleaner. Since then, he prefers that such situations do not arise. If I meet him tomorrow, I can find out more about working at the head office and in production. Besides, I don't want to make him angry because he could fire me at any time. I know that if we meet, we will most likely kiss before he takes me back to the car. It doesn't bother me because he is a very good kisser, and I always come home sexually satisfied without sex, especially since he started satisfying all my needs without regular sex. Saturday. Jim. It was Saturday morning, and for the first time in a long time, we didn't have kids' soccer games. After breakfast, I was going to take the children to our friends and then talk to Anna about her behavior. I agreed in advance with our friends that the children could stay with them overnight. They agreed, and I thanked them and promised a return visit in the future. As I was getting ready to take the kids to our friends, I heard Anne's cell phone ring. He never called on weekends because all our friends called our home landline. Anne answered the phone and walked over to me while talking. I was able to hear her side of the conversation. It seemed like someone from her work was calling. Yes, I understand that this is important. I think I can go away for a while, but I need to be home for dinner. What time do you need me to arrive? Jim will take the children to see friends. I'll talk to him when he returns. If there are any problems, I'll call you back, Anne said. When I got home, I sat down at the kitchen table and called Anne to join me. Time to talk. Anne, grab something to drink, let's talk, I said. Fine. I also have something that I want to talk to you about, she replied, sitting down opposite me with a glass of iced tea. Anne, I know that something has changed in your life over the past 3 months, and I want to help if I can. But for me to help, you have to tell me what's going on in your life that has changed your behavior so much, I said. Nothing is happening. My behavior hasn't changed. What are you even talking about? She said irritably. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You get angry over a simple question. Lately, you even snap at your children. It seems to me that sometimes you want to be anywhere, but here not with me and not with the children. You ignore not only me, but also them. They have already asked me several times, "What's wrong with Mom?" And I have nothing to answer them. Lately, you have been responding harshly and coldly to me and the children. You often get angry at us for no reason. Besides, we have problems in bed. We used to make love almost every night. Now only on Saturdays, and only if you're not too tired, I said. Honey, I'm tired because I've had a lot more work to do at work since the last FDA inspection. Please tell the children I'm sorry. I know that in a couple of months everything will get better. I promise, she replied. And I think that you, as their mother, should talk to the children yourself. I shouldn't speak for you. What about our intimate life? I miss intimacy, and I doubt that once a week on Saturday satisfies your needs. Unless, of course, you get it somewhere else, I said. Like I said, I get very tired, and we do this as often as we can. I'm sorry if that's not enough for you, but I assure you that everything suits me. And don't hint that I'm cheating on you, because I'm not, she said angrily. Do you remember how we used to read before bed, and when you finished, you rolled over to me, started kissing me, and we made love? Do you remember the last time this happened? I asked. It was a couple of weeks ago, she replied. No, honey, it's been 2 months, I said. You're making it up. We do it a lot more often, she said. I started marking it on the calendar. I put a little black dot every time we make love. And if you initiate it, you're self-read. You can check if you don't believe me, I said. Anne stood up, walked over to the calendar, and began flipping the pages back a few months. She looked at him, flipping the pages back and forth. Dear, but this cannot be true. I think we do this a lot more often than the calendar shows, she said. No, I started celebrating this because I noticed something had changed in your life. At first it was unnoticed, but then the situation only worsened. Today it's been 2 weeks without intimacy, 2 weeks. That's why we're having this conversation. Something is bothering you so much that it is affecting all of us, me and the children. I just want you to talk to me. Tell me what's bothering you. Perhaps I can help, I said. Anne looked at me, but seemed deep in thought. Honey, I'm a good listener. I will listen to you without interrupting. Please let me help you, I said. Anne slammed her palms down hard on the table, causing me to flinch. I saw anger in her eyes. I'm fine, so leave me alone. There is pressure on me at work now, but I know that in a couple of months everything will get better, and then we will return to our previous life. By the way, while you're on the subject of work, I got a call this morning about some urgent work that needs to be done before the next FDA inspection, and it can't wait until Monday. So I'll go to work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and be back by 5, or at least 6. And then we'll go out to dinner because I'll be too tired to cook, she said irritably. She got up from the table, leaving her tea, and went up to the bedroom to change clothes and beautify before work. I shrugged and thought, well, at least I tried. I thought about our conversation. Maybe I pushed her too hard, which made her angry instead of opening up to me. It might be worth trying a different approach. I'll book a table at a nice restaurant, and after dinner, I'll play one of her favorite movies. And then we'll go to the bedroom. I'll show her what she's been missing all this time. Anne left the house 5 minutes before 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I noticed that even though it was Saturday, she was dressed very nicely and her hair and makeup looked impeccable. All this for a normal working day on Saturday, when there is no one in the office. Anne has never worked on a Saturday before, and she's been acting strange for the last couple of months. So I decided to carefully keep an eye on her car. When she arrived at work, she pulled into her parking space, but did not get out of the car. I parked across the street where I could watch her, but where my car was less visible. I always have a security camera in my car from work, so I took a photo of her while she was sitting in the car. The photo will be stamped with the date and time. About 2 minutes later, a black BMW pulled up next to her car. I took a few pictures of the car, and then zoomed in to capture the license plate number. Anna got out of her car and got into the BMW. I took a few photos of the moment she got into the car. She and the driver then leaned towards each other and kissed. I took a few pictures through the rear window of the BMW while they were kissing. After that, it seemed like they were talking about something because they didn't leave. Maybe Anna had doubts about what was going to happen today. And then the BMW finally pulled out of the parking lot, and I followed it. I knew it. Anna wasn't even going to work today. She's having an affair with some man. At work, I have extensive experience spying on cars. I always leave other cars between us and keep a sufficient distance so that the driver does not notice that he is being followed. Besides, I think this guy was only thinking about sex and not looking in the rearview mirror. I followed them to an expensive, furnished apartment complex designed for businessmen who prefer such apartments to hotels for long stays. These luxury apartments even had double garages for each apartment. I watched this guy pull into the garage. Then I parked across the street and took a few photos of the building, its address, and the front door. There was no doorbell with a camera, just a regular button. I wondered what to do next. Lately, Anna sometimes came home late, but not so late that one could suspect betrayal. Most likely, they were just kissing and fooling around a little after work. But today, they have the whole day. I'm sure this guy wants to seduce my wife. What should I do? The only way to get into his apartment is to break down the door, but that could cost me my job, especially if he calls the police. It's not worth losing your job for this. Apparently, the bedroom is on the second floor above the garage, so I won't be able to take photos through the window. I have no choice. I'll have to wait until Anna comes home, and then I'll deal with her. But I have no proof. She can deny everything. Crap. At least I have his car number and address, so it won't be difficult to find out more about him. And then I will visit him and take revenge for what he did to my wife. Anna. I left the house just after midnight and parked my car at work. While I was waiting for Ted, my mind was filled with thoughts of what Jim was accusing me of. We make love more often than his stupid calendar claims. I don't get angry at home except when he whines about sex. I only waited a couple of minutes before Ted arrived. When I got into his car, he leaned in for a kiss, and I kissed him. Ted, I'm not sure I want to do this. If we just talk and kiss a little, will you then drive me back to my car? I asked. Of course, Anna. It just seemed to me that you were giving signals that you were ready to go further, and today we have time. Let's come to my place, drink wine, and talk. I bought us a nice Cabernet Sauvignon, he said. Ted, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to sleep with you. Not today, not ever. I'm happily married to Jim, I said firmly. You sound upset. Everything is fine? He asked. No, this morning my husband tried to have a serious conversation with me. He suspects something, judging by what he said and what he hinted at, I answered. Anna, we were careful, so he didn't know anything. Besides, we didn't do anything terrible, just innocent kisses. Will he really be angry about this? Said Ted. Perhaps it's my fault. I think I ignored him and the kids too much. All my attention was on you, and now he's reacting. Even if he doesn't know anything yet, I could create a situation in which he would start looking for something, I said. Anna, you're worrying in vain. Listen, let's go to my place. I'll open a bottle of wine. It will calm you down. We'll talk and get to know each other better. If you want, we can kiss a little. I really like kissing you, and I know you like it too. We will have enough time, and if you want to go further, I will be pleased. But if you just want to hang out and then go home, I'll take you back. Agreed? Well, just a conversation, nothing more. Okay? I asked. Ted put the car in reverse, pulled out of the parking lot, and quickly headed home. He drove the car into the garage, and we went inside. We sat on the couch, Ted put his arm around me, and we talked for about half an hour, and then we started kissing like teenagers. Since we had more time and were not constrained by the space of the car, Ted gradually began to undress me while we kissed, and then undressed himself. I'm embarrassed to admit, but Ted was right, everything was much more pleasant without clothes. We could touch each other freely, and I loved the way he caressed me. Ted was clearly nervous, so I decided to help him relax a little. Everything went calmly until, at the most unexpected moment, he made a loud sound. Usually, he was always quieter in the car. I shuddered in surprise, and because of this slight confusion, some of his emotions were reflected even on my pants, which were lying next to me on the sofa. He stood up and went to the bathroom to clean himself up. Ted. I finally managed to bring Anne to my home. I made sure we talked for a long time before I decided to kiss her. She really seems to enjoy kissing me. She didn't resist when I started to undress her while we kissed on the couch. After we spent some time alone, her caresses became especially sensual and intense, perhaps because we had more time and freedom. Usually, when we stay in the car after work, I try to hold back my emotions so that no one notices us. But here, in the privacy of my apartment, I could afford not to hide my feelings. This seemed to catch Anne a little off guard, and the moment ended in an unexpected way. After a quick shower to freshen up, I returned to her place, ready to continue the romantic evening. Jim. While Anne was at work, I decided to look around the house for evidence of her infidelity. First, I checked her clothes, nothing new or unusual, no new expensive underwear. Then I looked in her bags. It was full of stuff, but nothing that would indicate cheating, and of course, no condoms. Then I checked the bathroom, no disposable douches, no intimate gel. I looked for her birth control pills, but they weren't in the bathroom. The medicine cabinet was filled with prescription drugs, but no birth control pills. Crap, she might get pregnant. I looked around her workspace in our home office. No notes or anything suspicious. I was unable to check her email because her computer and email are password protected. I couldn't check the phone either because she had it with her. At 6:05 p.m., I called Anne on her cell phone to remind her that she was due home by 5 p.m. The call immediately went to voicemail, which means the phone was turned off. I left her a message. Anne, you said you'd be home by 5, 6 at the most, but now it's after 6 and you're still not here, and I haven't heard from you. I have a fancy dinner planned, so call me and tell me what's going on. Ted. When I returned downstairs, I opened a bottle of wine and poured some crushed sex pills into Anne's glass so that our night in bed would be truly wild. Anne was busy fixing her hair and checking her makeup in the hallway mirror. She wasn't paying attention to me, so I took advantage of the moment, reached into her purse, which was lying on the kitchen table, and turned off her phone. I didn't want her husband to interfere with us. I then went into the living room and handed Anne her glass of wine. We talked a little about what she likes about sex with her husband. This gave me some ideas. She finished her glass, and I poured her another. We started kissing again to give the pill time to work. God, how good she is. The best I've ever had, and it's not even because of the pill. When I saw that the drug was working, I helped her up to the bedroom. Sex was already a foregone conclusion because we were already naked. And when he returned, he opened a bottle of red wine for us. We had a few drinks and talked a little more, mostly about sex. He asked what Jim and I did in bed. While we were talking about sex, he became horny again, and we resumed our kissing on the couch. He kissed me, touched me so that everything inside flared with desire. This time, the sensations were different, exciting, insatiable. Memories emerge in fragments, a look full of passion, touches that pierce to the depths of the soul, moments of absolute unity. Wave after wave of emotions overwhelmed me, leaving only a feeling of boundless closeness and warmth. At some point, we must have fallen asleep. I don't know how much time had passed, but when I woke up, Ted's alarm clock said 6:05 p.m. Crap. I was very late home. I promised Jim I'd be back around 5, but now it's after 6. He will be furious. I woke up Ted. Ted, we overslept. I'm very late and Jim will be angry. I don't want him to come to my work looking for me. Please take me to my car, I said. We quickly went downstairs. Ted started getting dressed, and I really needed a shower, but there was no time. I quickly pulled on my clothes, found my purse, and took out my phone. It was turned off. I don't remember doing this. I turned it on and saw a missed call from Jim. Crap. I didn't even listen to the voice message. I don't have time. I have to hurry. I called Jim while we were still at Ted's apartment, hoping he hadn't come looking for me at work. Hello, dear. I'm just finishing. I lost track of time. I'll be home in 15 minutes, I said. I tried to call you, but the call went straight to voicemail. Why did you turn off your phone? You yourself said that I need to call my cell phone, Jim asked. I didn't turn it off, but I used it a lot today. There were a lot of questions about the work. I called Ted several times, as well as the director of quality control. You must have called while I was on the line. Sorry, I lied and hung up. Ted drove me to work at full speed, even ran a red light. I jumped out of his car, got into mine, and drove home. As I pulled into the garage, I quickly looked at myself in the rearview mirror. Horror! I decided to loudly announce my arrival and rush upstairs before Jim saw me. I urgently need a shower. Jim. Around 6:15 p.m. Ann called and said she would be home in 15 minutes. She arrived at 18:37. Hearing the sound of the garage door, I walked out into the hallway to meet her. When she walked in, she looked like she was caught in a hurricane. Her hair was disheveled, her makeup was smeared, her eyes were red, there was dried saliva in her mouth, or was it something else? Her blouse was not fully buttoned, there was a stain on her pant leg, and the crotch area of her pants looked wet, as if she had peed herself a little. I sat at the kitchen table and played online on my cell phone while I waited for Anne. When she walked in, I took a few pictures of her with my phone. She didn't even notice it because she was looking down at the floor. I went up to her to kiss and hug her. She turned her head away and my kiss fell on her cheek. There was a smell floating around her head and shoulders. This scent was familiar to me, a popular men's cologne Polo. Looks like my wife was too close to another man this afternoon. She also smelled like sex. There was a stain on her pants, so at least she pleased him. I hope that only this. Honey, you look terrible. You're all disheveled and you smell bad. You need to shower and change before we go to dinner, I said. I was just getting ready to go upstairs to the shower when you grabbed me. I got stuck in a traffic jam, and it seems I couldn't quite restrain myself. I need to go to the bathroom, she answered and pulled away from me. As she walked up the stairs, I said, but don't linger, I'm starving. After 15 minutes, she came downstairs with slightly damp hair and no makeup. She was wearing a simple blouse and trousers. She looked tired and, to be honest, a little aged. Previously, before all this started a few months ago, Anne never wouldn't leave the house with me without makeup and perfectly styled hair. Today, I don't know who this is, but this is not my wife. I canceled our table at Ruth's Steakhouse when I realized that she was late. It's good that he canceled. She was not at all dressed for such an establishment. I didn't say anything. I just took her arm and we headed to the garage. I opened the car door for her. We drove in silence and I decided to diffuse the situation. And when it was 6 p.m., I started to worry. You are rarely late, and so you never come late. I tried to call you to remind you that we had dinner reservations, but your phone went straight to voicemail. You turned it off, right? What if I urgently should contact you? No, I didn't turn it off. I told you that I was on the phone all day and probably just missed your call. I needed to prepare for my next FDA inspection because the last one passed terribly. I guess I'm just lost track of time. Sorry, she replied. We continued driving in silence until Anne suddenly asked, when I came home, you said that I smell bad. You never didn't tell me that before. What did you mean? When I hugged you, you smelled like men's cologne. Polo, to be precise. The only way this could happen is if the man who wears this cologne tightly hugged you, leaving a scent on you, I answered. Next time tell your lover not to wear cologne. This is your issue. Anne was silent for the rest of the trip, but I saw her digest my words. Anne, I canceled our dinner at Ruth's Steakhouse because you came too late. So I thought we could have dinner at BJ's Mexican restaurant instead, I said as we pulled into the restaurant parking lot. Our Mexican dinner was delicious as always, but it was anything but that dinner I had planned. I noticed that Anne avoids looking at me. We didn't talk at all at dinner, and the way home also passed in complete silence. As soon as we entered the house, I hurried to the bathroom, explaining what I really needed. I locked myself in the bathroom and started rummaging through the dirty laundry basket, looking for Anne's clothes. Her blouse didn't stand out, besides the same polo scent. But when I found her trousers, I saw a spot from the side. I took a photo of it with my phone. Her panties were buried at the very bottom of the basket. I carefully put them in my pocket. When I came out of the bathroom, Anne was already undressed in the bedroom. I noticed that she constantly sniffs his arms and shoulders, probably checking, is there any scent left of her lover? And after that excellent dinner we had there was no, I planned to watch one of your favorite movies and cuddle on the couch for a bit, I said. Darling, I'm tired after work all day. I think I'll go to bed early, she answered. Okay, but this is not quite that evening which I was planning. I need something to check on the computer downstairs, then I'll come up to you, I said. I left the bedroom and went to the kitchen, where I took the bag out of the drawer, then put her panties there and hid them on my office desk. After that, I uploaded photos of Anne from the work camera to the computer, recorded her lover's address and his car number. I'll get to it on Monday. Then I downloaded the pictures from a mobile phone, the ones he did when she came home, printed out some photos for the future, and hid them in the safe. When I returned to the bedroom, Anne was lying back to me. I undressed and went to bed. I read approximately 30 minutes with the lamp on. Actually, I'm just holding a laptop and staring blankly at the screen, angry at her. I specially left the light knowing it was hers annoyed. Then I put away the laptop, turned off the light, and pulled Anne onto her back. Not today, dear. I had a rough day, she said. Anne, I'm sick of your crap. I was planning a romantic evening today, and you ruined everything. We haven't made love in 2 weeks, and we're not going to make it to 3. Either you have sex with me, or I'll go to downtown Denver and buy it. After all, you are my wife, and it is your duty, Anne, I exclaimed furiously. She didn't say anything and just stayed there. I knew this was a bad idea. I lowered my hand, gently touching her, but almost immediately I felt tension in her body. She did not react as before. She did not cling to me, did not seek my touch. I ran my hand over her shoulder, then lower, but it did not cause any response. Her silence seemed somehow empty, as if she were nearby, but at the same time completely distant. I leaned forward, hoping to catch her eye, but she turned away. Take it easy, dear. You're too rude, she said quietly. There was no irritation or reproach in her voice, rather fatigue and a certain detachment. She didn't try to push me away, but she didn't make it clear that she wanted to be closer. I froze, not knowing what to do next. Everything seemed somehow wrong, not as it should be. My thoughts were racing. I couldn't understand what was happening. Thoughts about the past day, about her mood, about how she behaved, flared up and immediately crumbled, leaving only one feeling: uncertainty. I tried to focus on my feelings, on what was happening here and now, but something inside was changing the mood of this moment. Her breathing, usually light and even, was now barely audible, with some elusive notes of tension. I took a deep breath, then exhaled, trying to calm down. I wanted the warmth between us to be the same as before, but it disappeared, like sand slipping through my fingers. Rising heavily from the bed, I went to the bathroom, hoping to at least put my thoughts in order. Water flowed down my hands, but the coolness did not help. The feeling of anxiety did not go away. When I returned to the room, she was already lying on her side, turned away from me. In the light of the night lamp, I saw her shoulders tremble subtly. I almost certainly heard her breathing quietly, hiding something deep inside in this breath. Perhaps pent-up emotions, perhaps fatigue, perhaps something I didn't understand yet. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to fill this void that suddenly grew between us. All I could do was just lie next to her, feeling how this dull, unbearable gap was slowly filling the space. I lay there for a long time, did not sleep, but thought about everything. I was sure she had sex with her lover that afternoon and was going to get the leftovers. I was going to take revenge, Sunday. I woke up to the smell of bacon, so I put on my robe and went downstairs to find that Anne had prepared us a hearty breakfast of eggs, bacon, waffles, and chopped potatoes. We ate in silence, neither of us wanting to talk. Finally, Anne spoke. "Dear, sorry about yesterday. You prepared something good, but it looks like I messed everything up. I'm sorry. And this is how I planned last night. I wanted to have a date, actually. I gave our children away to friends, hoping to have a romantic evening with my wife. But at 1837, a stranger flew into our house. It definitely wasn't my wife, because she had never looked so bad or smelled so disgusting. What, I had to face such an untidy pile of garbage then, I said angrily. And when it came to sex last night, you tried to refuse again. I should have listened to you. You were so horny inside that I swear I felt like I was getting leftovers from her afternoon lover. You know, the guy who wears polo cologne. Because you were too horny and just lay there motionless, like you were dead or like an inflatable sex doll. It was the worst sex of my life. Thus ended my plans for a date, my romantic evening with my wife. I was so angry that I threw away my half-eaten breakfast and walked out to our home office, where I slammed the door shut. I heard Anne crying behind me. I wanted to find out what happened on Saturday, but I was too angry and afraid of doing something I would regret. Besides, I didn't have hard evidence, and I didn't know who this guy was. Yes, she was wearing his cologne, but most likely they were just kissing. There were marks on her clothes that could indicate her recent actions. However, this still did not give complete confidence in what was happening. If events had developed differently, there might not have been any traces left at all. She looked worried, but could offer many explanations. The only reliable way to get definitive confirmation would be to analyze her clothing. We should have waited for more convincing evidence before bringing this up. Around 10 o'clock that morning, the children returned home, but I let Anne take care of them. She needed to reconnect with them. I stayed in my office working on the computer, and Anne left me alone. I was sure she knew how angry I was. To calm myself down, I read stories about cheating wives to spark ideas. I finally left the office when she called me for dinner. At dinner, the kids were in high spirits and told us about the Xbox games they were playing at their friends' houses. Anne and I didn't say a word to each other or even make eye contact. That night, I helped put the kids to bed and kissed them goodnight. When Anne and I went to bed, we were both silent. I just turned off the light and went to bed. No reading, no talking, no sex. I wanted her to understand how angry I was. I woke up before Anne and the children. I got dressed and hurried to the office. I didn't even want to see Anne. Let her take the children to school herself, not me every day. I decided I'd had enough. From the stories I read on the site, I was sure that Anne was cheating. Over the past month, she has been returning home later than usual. This did not happen every night, but 2 or 3 times a week. This was not enough for full sex, but most likely included foreplay, maybe pleasure or something else. However, I was sure that last Saturday afternoon she had intercourse, and according to my guesses, this may have been the first time, since this was the longest time they had been together. I knew she was going to come into the house and take a shower right away. However, I was waiting for her right at the door. I don't think she realized how bad she looked, but she knew it didn't suit her. Now I had solid evidence of her betrayal, her stained panties. I hope they can get DNA in the lab. At work, the first thing I decided to do was check on my wife by calling the director of the Quality Control Department, where Anne worked. "Quality Control, I'm listening. This is Tony," came the voice over the phone. "Hi, Tony. This is Jim, Anne's husband. You know Anne, the personal assistant to the production manager," I explained. "Of course I know Anne. She's very sweet. You have a beautiful woman," he replied. "Anne overworked a lot due to poor FDA inspection. Could you tell me what happened there?" I asked. "Jim, we haven't had an FDA inspection in 6 months, and it's certainly not bad," he said. "Anne was working on Saturday, and she said she had to call you and Ted to get answers to questions," I added. "Anne didn't call me, in fact. I was out of town. We have a new boat, and we went to Pueblo water skiing, and the kids had a blast. Tony said. I thanked Tony and hung up. The office was not too crowded, so I gathered all the employees in my office and told them what was happening at home, describing in detail the events of Saturday. When I finished, everyone was silent, but clearly thinking about something. Janice, our receptionist, suggested installing surveillance equipment in the house so I could check what was going on there. I said I didn't believe my house was being used for their affair because he had his own apartment and seemed to be a bachelor. Rob, my right-hand man, suggested we gather information to find out who this guy was. I gave him a note with the man's license plate number and address. I then took out the bag of Anne's panties and handed them to Janice. I asked her to immediately send them to a local laboratory for analysis for DNA and traces of infidelity. I explained that I needed results as quickly as possible. Janice grabbed her car keys and drove away. And when I woke up, Jim had already left for work. He must still be angry with me, so he left early to avoid being around. I prepared breakfast for the children, but did not eat breakfast myself. My whole body was depressed, and I felt bad. I cheated on my husband, and I was haunted by guilt. What bothered me was that Jim had already hinted that he suspected I was seeing someone. Should I confess to him what happened on Saturday? God, if he was so angry about ruining a date on Saturday night, what would he do when he found out about what happened that afternoon? I helped the kids get ready and took them to school, which made me late for work. Jim usually drives them because I have to be at work by 7 a.m. As soon as I arrived at work, Ted came into my office. "Anne, thank you for a wonderful time on Saturday. I've never been with a woman like you before. In addition, I wanted to let you know that 2 men from the head office in Basel came to us today to review our accounting and production data in order to establish a baseline for the new director. I'll be treating them tonight, so we won't be able to meet after work. I have to go," Ted said and left the office. I still couldn't concentrate on work. I was angry at myself for what I did on Saturday. Ted promised that we would just talk, but I knew that we would definitely kiss, and I liked it. However, we went to bed. I had no intention of going to bed with him. In fact, I wouldn't have agreed if I knew he was going to have sex with me. I loved kissing him, and it was nice to know that a young man wanted me. But I'm happily married to Jim, and I would never cheat on him. I would never agree to sleep with anyone, especially my boss. How did we get to this point? Why do I remember almost nothing after we started kissing for the second time? I spent some time trying to remember everything Jim said to me on Saturday night. He smelled Ted's cologne on me and commented that I should tell him not to wear it anymore. So Jim knows I was close. Too close to Ted. Although I really like the way Ted smells, it would be difficult to explain why I was wearing that scent. I wonder if Jim noticed signs of betrayal on my pants. I tried to throw them into the laundry basket as quickly as possible as soon as I got home. Later, when we made love, he implied that I had already slept with someone because he said he was getting leftovers. Crap, Jim knows I did something bad on Saturday. How can I fix this? I'd rather cook a special dinner for him today. I will try to be happy and look forward to his arrival. And when night comes, I will have sex with him so much that he will not be able to move. Maybe then everything will calm down. Jim, when I got home, Anne made a special dinner beef and gravy and noodles, which I really love. Is she trying to make amends for Saturday? The kids filled the dinner conversation with chatter about upcoming school events. I asked Anne how her workday was, and she said that 2 men from Basel had come to the plant. Her boss had a few meetings with them and then took them out to dinner. As we lay in bed to read, I felt Anne's hand touch my shoulder. "Do you want to make love today?" she asked. "Come on, last time it was." "Well, not the best moment." "You barely moved, as if you weren't interested at all. And no, I didn't finish it, it just didn't work out. Everything seemed somehow unnatural. I should probably think about finding another way to relieve the tension." "Okay, good night, Anne," I said, turned off the light and turned on my side. At breakfast, Anne was very sweet and affectionate. She served me food, kissed me on the cheek, and massaged my shoulders for a few seconds. Every time I looked at her, she smiled. She went to work, and I sent the children to school. And I was not myself all Monday. I couldn't concentrate. I thought about Jim all the time. Today, I closed and locked the door to my office. I needed time to think about everything, especially after what happened between me and Ted on Saturday. I screwed up on Saturday. Jim was planning to take me on a date, and I ruined his plans by being late. When I got home, he made a scene because of the way I looked and smelled. Crap, I made a huge mistake. I should have taken a shower at Ted's, but I was already late. If Jim had decided to check where I was, he would have seen that my car was parked at work. But how can I explain the smell of Ted's cologne? And one more thing, I didn't turn off my phone. Who turned it off? Ted? For 2 days, I went through all this in my head. Besides, I needed to wait until Jim calmed down so I could talk to him. I think I have an explanation he can accept. God, I hate to lie to him, but I can't tell him what happened on Saturday. Yesterday, everything went well, except for sex, so today I'll cook his favorite dish again to appease him. And after dinner, I'll tell you my version of events. When we get into bed, I will have so much sex with him that he will forget about everything. Jim. When I arrived at work, there was already a bag of my wife's panties and a lab report on my desk. Looks like Janice picked up the results on her way to the office. The report states that urine and sex stains were found on the panties. The laboratory requested a DNA sample from the alleged man for identification. I think we need to do this today. Just as I finished reading the report, Rob came into the office with a stack of stapled documents. The guy's name is Ted Newsome. He's your wife's temporary boss. Young, single, quickly moving up the career ladder at a pharmaceutical company, according to their website. He was sent from Basel, Switzerland, to serve as interim production director. As soon as a suitable candidate is found, he must return to Switzerland. Thanks to you, we know where he lives and what car he drives. I have a photo of him from the corporate website. I think he's about half our age, boss. Clean as glass, loves tennis and runs 5K. Looks in good shape. How will we proceed? Asked Rob. I wish I could get his phone number, but on the other hand, it's useless. Anne sits in the office next to him. They can just talk. There's no need for them to write letters or messages to each other, I said. Boss, let me talk to him. Maybe I can scare him, he suggested. I have a lab report, and it clearly states that there are signs of infidelity on her panties. They want to take a DNA sample for confirmation, so I think we should both visit Mr. Newsome. Call my wife and see if he's in the office. If he's there, we'll search his apartment first and then meet him. Rob called Anne and asked if her boss was there. I hoped that he would be at work so that we would have time to inspect his home. Anne replied that Ted would appear later as he had a late meeting with people from the head office in Basel. Anne had never met my people, so she didn't recognize Rob's voice. So Mr. Ted Newsome is still hungover in bed. I told Rob to change into his uniform. We had something to do. Once we were both in uniform and armed, we got into one of the SUVs and headed to Ted's house. We drove past Mr. Newsome's apartment and saw that there was no activity around his building or the neighboring buildings. After making a circle, we parked in front of his apartment. Both wore black nitrile gloves. We used a special garage door scanner, and it opened his garage for us. We went inside and closed the gate by pressing the switch on the wall. The first thing Rob did was add sugar to the gas tank of his BMW. This should have kept him in the apartment for a while. We checked the door leading into the house, and it was unlocked. We toured the first floor. The furniture and wall decorations were reminiscent of an expensive hotel. Apart from the dirty dishes in the sink, there was nothing to look for there. We went up to the second floor and easily found the master bedroom. The only furniture in the room was a double bed, 2 side tables, a chest of drawers, and a large TV. The clothes he wore yesterday were scattered on the floor. I assumed he was pretty drunk when he returned home from dinner with his guests. Mr. Newsome lay on the bed, half under the covers and half out. He was only wearing boxers. I noticed Anne's panties lying on the dresser and put them in my pocket. Then I looked in the drawers of the bedside tables. There were no condoms. While I continued my inspection, Rob went through all the boxes. He found 2 passports, American and Swiss. I looked in the trash cans in the bedroom and bathroom, but did not find any used condoms or their packaging. As I suspected, he and Anne had sex without protection. In the bathroom, I found a bottle of Polo cologne, but nothing else of note. I needed a DNA sample, so Rob got a sample collection kit. Newsom was either asleep or passed out. His mouth was open, and Rob swabbed the inside of his cheek. He didn't even move and didn't understand what happened. "It's time to talk to Mr. Newsom." I nodded to Rob, and he slapped Newsom hard on the back of the head. "What? Why did you do this?" he asked, still sleepy. "Good morning, Mr. Newsom. We need to talk. Put on your robe and go downstairs," Rob said. "Who the hell are you, and how did you get here?" he asked, rubbing his head. "We are your worst nightmare, Mr. Newsom." "Get up and get dressed," Rob said, grabbing Ted's arm and pulling him out of bed. He was staggering, so it was clear he was hungover. We all sat down at the kitchen table. I took out a small voice recorder, turned it on, and put it on the table. "We are recording this conversation, so answer our questions completely," I said. "Who the hell are you? Are you cops? How did you get here?" he asked. He smelled strongly of alcohol. "You are Theodore Newsom, and you work for pharmaceuticals, right?" asked Rob. "Yes," Ted answered, still sleepy. "Judging by your passports, you are a citizen of both the United States and Switzerland," Rob said, placing the passports on the table. "Yes, I was born in the USA, studied in England, and now live and work in Switzerland." "Who are you?" he asked. "We represent the U.S. government. We are here because you are causing problems for our government," Rob said. "What problems could there be?" "I just work for a pharmaceutical company," Ted said. "You slept with the wife of an important U.S. government official, and the government is not happy about it. We are here to warn you. Stop this immediately, or there will be serious consequences," Rob said. "I'm not sleeping with some important person's wife, so get lost," Ted replied. "Actually, this is not true. We have evidence DNA analysis confirming your connection with this woman. In addition, we have photographs, videos, and audio recordings of your meetings. We demand that this affair be stopped immediately, otherwise there will be consequences," Rob said. "Look, I admit that I am dating a lady from work. We only slept once, but before that we just kissed. There is nothing illegal about this. This is harmless flirting. Anyway, soon I'll be returning to Basel, and it'll all be over. So what's the problem? Listen, idiot. The woman you're sleeping with is married to an important government official. In this country, treason is a crime. Your husband can file for divorce and demand your arrest. All this will lead to high-profile litigation. The government doesn't want a scandal over your affair, so we're ordering you to stop it immediately," Rob said. "She said her husband was just a civil servant or something like that." "I think you've got the wrong person. And what will you do if I refuse?" asked Ted. "We will confiscate your American passport and send you back to Switzerland on the next flight. We will also notify the Swiss government that you have become an undesirable person in the United States. Switzerland will want to know the details, and we will provide them with all the evidence of your relationship with the official's wife, as well as this recording to show that you were warned. I don't know the laws of Switzerland, but according to us law, you commit a crime by sleeping with another man's wife. You are still a U.S. citizen, and we can arrest you and charge you with adultery and other offenses. We have more than enough evidence, but the government doesn't want a trial. End the affair immediately. The Swiss government is strict with citizens who break laws in other countries. If they cancel your Swiss passport, you won't be able to travel anywhere," Rob explained. Ted laughed. "Now it's clear. You guys are dressed like those guys from that movie. You're just trying to scare me, right? This lady's husband is an ordinary minor civil servant, and not some important official. Did he send you? Do you think I'll get scared? It won't work. I advise you to get out of here, otherwise I'm calling the police," Ted said, grabbing his phone from the kitchen table. "Dial 911, asshole," I said quietly. He obeyed and reported that two strangers were threatening him in his house. A couple of minutes later, we heard a siren and then a loud knock on the front door. I turned off the recorder and put it back in my pocket. Rob and I stood up. "Go open it for them," Rob said. When Ted opened the door, we stood at attention 10 feet behind him. The police burst inside, but immediately stopped when they saw us. "Oh crap," one of them exclaimed. I walked up to one of the officers and handed him a business card. It bore the official seal, but no name or other information other than a single telephone number. "We are not violators. We're here on official government business with Mr. Newsome. This does not concern the local police, so please leave so we can continue our meeting. If you have any doubts about who we are, call this number," I said. The policeman returned my business card and replied, "That's not necessary, sir. I've seen you before. We're leaving. Have a nice day, sir." Another policeman approached Ted and quietly said to him, "I don't know what you did, but if they are here, then everything is very bad. You better cooperate with them. I heard that those who interfered with them simply disappeared and were never seen again." Both policemen left, closing the door behind them. Rob grabbed Ted's hand, trying to lead him into the kitchen, but Ted resisted and tried to break free. He started screaming for help, so I stood in front of him and punched him twice hard in the stomach. Rob let go and Ted fell to the floor. He tried to throw up, but he only started having dry cramps. We left him lying there in case he did throw up, but when the gagging stopped, we picked him up and dragged him to the kitchen. Rob held him, and I hit him between the legs as hard as I could. He screamed and lost consciousness. We sat him down on one of the kitchen chairs. Rob found a used glass in the sink, filled it with water, and threw it in Ted's face. He came to his senses, coughed, and began to spit. "You'll be a good girl and leave her alone, right?" asked Rob. Ted immediately grabbed between his legs, which probably hurt a lot after the blow. He had difficulty catching his breath. "It's not my fault. She's been following me since I started working here. She always wants to have sex. I just want to make her happy. Apparently, her husband can't satisfy her anymore," Ted said with a smile. I walked up to him and lifted him from his chair, grabbing him by the robe. He lifted him up so that his feet didn't even touch the floor. Our faces were inches apart. His face turned pale, and his breath still smelled of alcohol. "This is all complete nonsense, and you know it. It would be better for you not to tell anyone this nonsense. Otherwise, something very bad might happen to you. You may not return to Switzerland." "You heard what the cop told you," I said. I let go of his robe, and Ted sank back into the chair. "I'll ask again. Will you leave a married woman alone?" asked Rob. Okay, Ted said. "But if this bitch comes to me and wants sex, then I—" Rob interrupted him, jerking him out of his chair. "Wrong answer, asshole," he said. I hit Ted in the stomach again, and when he doubled over, I added another blow, causing him to lose consciousness and collapse to the floor. Rob took advantage of the moment and roughly kicked him, as if trying to take out all his rage. I wondered what was so special about it. Why did Anne choose him? What did she see in him? I noticed his phone on the floor, picked it up, and put it in my pocket. We left his house through the open front door. We submitted the DNA to the laboratory, explaining that the analysis was needed urgently. Returning to the office, I looked through his phone. I found no letters or messages for my wife, but I did find several nude photos of her. Most of the pictures showed her either undressing or in the bathroom. Apparently, she did not know that she was being photographed. She never looked at the camera. I decided to take my phone home so I could copy these photos to my computer. I didn't want them to be stored on the production system. On Tuesday evening, when I came home, Anne was already there. She prepared a wonderful dinner for us. At the table, we talked only about school and the children's successes. Anne looked happy and actively participated in the conversation. This hasn't happened for over a month. After dinner, I said that I needed to work and locked myself in my home office. After some time, Anne knocked on the door and entered. "Honey, can we talk? I think you've got it all wrong, and if we discuss the situation, we can sort it out." she said. And I tried to talk to you on Saturday morning when we were alone, but you turned me off. I tried to make peace with you by asking you out on a date in the evening, but you ruined everything. Now you want to talk, but unfortunately I have work, I replied. Honey, I think you have the wrong idea about what's going on. I'd like to talk to you so you can understand and maybe we can get back to where we were, she said. Back to where we were. You mean back to where we made love every night, where you kissed and hugged me all the time, and not someone with strong cologne? Were you kind to me and the children? To where you were a good mother? I said angrily. Darling, she started, but I interrupted her. Anne, are you ready to have an honest discussion about what you did on Saturday afternoon? Because I know you weren't at work, and I know what you were doing. Are you ready to talk to me honestly? I asked with anger. Anne was silent, her face turned white as a sheet. See, you're not ready to talk to me. You are not honest with me or yourself. When you are ready to talk without lying, I will be happy to listen to you. In the meantime, get out of my office, I said. I saw tears appear in her eyes, and she ran out of the office. I then started documenting everything that had happened over the past 3 months by creating a file on my computer. I checked the dates on the calendar. I worked until late in the evening and didn't want to sleep with Anne, so I settled down on the sofa. On Wednesday morning, I woke up early. I fell asleep on the sofa, but there was a blanket over me and a pillow under my head. Apparently, Anne tried. It was early enough that I could leave while Anne and the kids were still asleep. And when I woke up, Jim had already left for work. He's still mad at me, and last night he said he knew what I did on Saturday. Crap! I wonder what he's going to do. When I arrived at work on Wednesday morning, my boss, Ted, was eagerly awaiting my arrival. And please come into my office and close the door, he said. I left my purse in my office and went into his room, closing the door tightly. And yesterday I had a terrible day. I had been hanging out too much with the guys from Basel and was suffering from a terrible hangover. I needed to go to the pharmacy, but my car broke down. She's on lease, so she was towed back to the rental office. This morning I had to take Uber to work. But the worst thing is that yesterday 2 men in black suits and dark glasses came to me. They said that they work for the government and that they know everything about you and me. They stated that they had DNA evidence of our connection, as well as photographs and videos. They demanded that I stop dating you and threatened me if I didn't stop. They said that you are married to a high-ranking official. Is this not true, Anne? Asked Ted. No, Jim is an engineer and works for the government, I replied. And they were dressed all in black and wearing sunglasses indoors, so I thought they were just copying the characters from that movie. I thought maybe it was some kind of prank. Perhaps your husband found out about us and hired these 2 guys to intimidate me. I didn't believe them and called the police. When the police arrived, one of these people showed a business card, and after that the police immediately left, as if they were scared. Then I told those 2 to go to hell. After all, what could they do to me? But they gave me a good beating, although they tried not to leave any traces. They damaged my private parts so badly that I still pee with blood. I should have gone to the hospital, but my car wouldn't start. I wanted to call you so you could take me to the hospital, but my phone was missing. And I grew up in England and now live in Switzerland. We don't have government thugs like that. What are they? Asked Ted. The men in black are a secret government organization. No one knows who they report to, but most believe it is the CIA. In the late 40s and 50s, the government created the men in black to contact those who claim to have seen flying saucers. They are said to have threatened these people into silence. There are rumors that some of them disappeared or died after these guys visited, but I think that's an urban legend. If they came to you, it means they probably met my husband. God, what have I done? I think I just ruined my marriage, I said and burst into tears. I ran out of Ted's office, slammed the door to my office, and locked myself in there. This is serious. Jim said he knew what I did on Saturday. Did these men in black tell him? Do they really have that much evidence on me and Ted? Jim, as I drove home after work, I wondered if Ted had told Anne about our meeting. What will she be like tonight when I get back? I arrived home, as usual, at 17:30 and found Anne already at home, preparing dinner. The children played outside until we sat down at the table. During dinner, I talked a lot with my oldest daughter about an important math test she was taking. Conversations with Anne were polite and pleasant, but we both avoided discussing the main problem. When we went to bed to read, I specifically chose stories from Literotica, which contained plots of revenge on my wife's lover. When we finished, I turned off the light. Today, no sex. Anne tried to be nice again at breakfast. I remain cautious because I don't know if this is sincere or if she's just pranking me. Anne. On Thursday afternoon, Ted came into my office and told me that he and I were flying to Colorado Springs on Friday to look at the new bottling line. He is going to buy the same one for our factory. He warned me that we would be back a little late, so he invited me to dinner. He suggested that I discuss this with Jim in advance to avoid any problems. Jim. During dinner, Anne said that she would be late Friday night. She explained that she and her boss were traveling to Colorado Springs to look at new equipment for the plant. She said Ted would buy her dinner later. She didn't know how late she'd be back, but she'd definitely be home to put the kids to bed. I told her I would feed the kids dinner, but expect her home soon after. Other than that, we didn't talk to each other. And I didn't see Ted until lunch this morning. He came into my office and said he was ready to go to Colorado Springs, so I grabbed my purse and followed him to his car. He took us to Firehouse Subs, where we grabbed a couple of sandwiches, and then he took us to his home. I thought we were going to Colorado Springs, I asked. I thought we should talk about Saturday. Get your sandwich, let's eat here, he said. I got out of the car and we went inside. I sat down at the kitchen table and began to unwrap my sandwich. He brought a big bowl of potato chips and a Coke for both of us. We barely spoke while we ate. When we finished, he suggested we move to the sofa and talk. And I wanted to talk a little about what happened last time we were here. I know you didn't want to go that far with me last Saturday, but I want to say I'm glad it happened. You were an amazing lover. We just kissed, but you were like a wild animal. It wasn't enough for you. You yourself asked for more, so we went to the bedroom. I have to say, I've never been in bed with a woman like you before, he said. Ted, I didn't mind kissing, but I wasn't going to sleep with you. I leave sex for the one I love, and I don't love you. This will never happen again, Ted. I got home too late and Jim is still very angry with me. Since we returned late, I did not have time to clean up, and as a result, I came home looking like a woman of easy virtue. We talked seriously, and he made it clear to me that he knew about my betrayal. He smelled your cologne on me and commented on it. He said I brought him someone else's leftovers on Saturday night. Since then, he has hardly spoken to me. I know he's hurt and angry, but I don't know what he's going to do, I said. I'm sorry it happened like this. I didn't mean to cause problems for you at home. But honestly, I'm really glad we had sex then, and we both enjoyed it. You were just wild in bed. I saw a completely different side to you, not the same as in the office. Are you always like this in bed? He asked. I remember almost nothing about what happened in bed with you. I remember some fragments, but in fact, everything is in a fog, as if I was not there. I know we made love, maybe even more than once, because I felt pain for days afterwards, I said. Ted didn't say anything, just stared at me. Ted, since we're talking about this, I want to stop our meetings after work. We've gone too far, and I feel terrible guilt. In the beginning, it was just kissing and innocent pranks, but now we are doing things that I shouldn't do as a married woman. It was not unpleasant for me to help you. It did not violate my boundaries and brought you satisfaction. But now you want more and move on to more personal touches, and it's too much. I can't handle this feeling of guilt anymore. Ted, Anne didn't want to come to my house because she was afraid we'd have sex again. Well, I'll do my best to get her back into bed. Last time she was the best woman I've been with. She was a little wild, but I gave her too many pills. which caused her to become too relaxed and not enjoy herself as much as I had hoped. Today, I will give her a smaller dose and hope that she will be even more relaxed in bed. After lunch, I talked to her, trying to get her to relax and trust me. All she wanted to talk about was ending our meetings after work. Then I decided to start seduction. I opened the wine and mixed a lighter dose of pills into her glass. While I was pouring the wine, I took her phone out of her purse and turned it off. I don't need her husband to interfere. While we were drinking wine, we talked about what happened last time, and it seemed to turn us both on. Then I started kissing her. When I felt the pill begin to take effect, I undressed her and began to caress her. When I realized that she was completely under the influence of illegal substances, I helped her upstairs to the bedroom. This time Anne was wild in bed, just as I had hoped. Last time I gave her too much, and she was too relaxed. Well, you never know how a woman will react. This time we slept 4 times, it was my personal record. Then we slept a little, and then took a shower. I took her to dinner as promised, and then drove her to her car. And Ted opened the wine, and we talked as he promised. Ted described what happened last Saturday. Sometimes I thought he was making it all up because I never behaved like that in bed. But talking about it got him going. Then we started kissing again. At some point, we undressed and continued. Then I lost my memory again. I only remember certain moments of our sex and that I had very strong emotions. We must have fallen asleep after making love all day. When I woke up, we took a shower and got dressed together. As promised, he took me to dinner at a very nice restaurant. After dinner, he drove me to my car. It seemed like he wanted to kiss some more in the car, but I needed to go home. I told Jim I'd be back late, so hopefully he won't be mad today. When I returned home, the house was dark. No Jim, no children. About 15 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. When I opened it, Mrs. Watson was standing on the threshold with my daughters. Jim called and asked me to look after the children until one of you returns. He said that you both are late to work. I fed the girls dinner. Jim said he would pay me tomorrow. Good night, Anne, she said and left. So Jim is delayed too. He never stays long and rarely goes on business trips, so this is very strange. Maybe he's trying to get back at me for being late on Saturday. A terrible thought crept into my head. What if he left me? The children did their homework, and I put them to bed. I told them that Dad works late, but when he returns, he will definitely kiss them good night. Jim. That afternoon, I called our neighbor, Mrs. Watson, who sometimes babysits our children. I asked her to pick them up when they returned from school. He said that my wife and I were working late today and I would pay her tomorrow. She replied that there was no need to worry and promised to feed them. Then I dialed my wife's number, but her phone went straight to voicemail. She turned it off again. And why is your phone turned off? What if I urgently need to contact you? In general, I will be late, back around 10 in the evening. Mrs. Watson has taken the children and will feed them. Take them from her when you return. We'll talk about this later, I said and hung up. I got into one of the black SUVs and drove to this guy's house. Since he has a garage, I couldn't figure out if they were there or if they had gone to Colorado Springs. Then I went to the pharmaceutical plant where Anne works. I parked on the street across from the administrative parking lot. Because of the dark windows of the SUV, no one could see me, but I could see Anne's car perfectly, so they went in his car. The SUV was equipped with surveillance equipment, so I pulled out a long-range microphone that looked like a small plastic radar dish with a handle. It transmitted the intercepted sound to a recording device to which headphones were connected. Then I took my camera and put a zoom lens on it to photograph Anne's lover's car. The wait was prolonged. Anne and her boss returned to the plant only at 19:30. A black BMW pulled into the parking pocket and stopped next to Anne's car. I turned on the microphone and took the camera in my other hand. I didn't hear them inside the car, but through the rear window I saw them kissing. I took several photographs in which this was clearly visible. The camera automatically stamped the date and time on each photo. A few minutes later, they got out of the car. The driver walked around her, headed towards Anne, and I took a few pictures of his face. Thanks to the equipment, I could hear their conversation perfectly and continued to take photographs. Thank you, Anne. It was an amazing day. I can't wait until we do it again, this guy said. He tried to kiss Anne, but she pulled away. There are CCTV cameras everywhere. I don't want to get fired, she replied, then unlocked her car, got in, and drove away. The man returned to his car, got behind the wheel, and also drove off. I decided it wasn't time to deal with it yet, so I went to the Federal Center to return the SUV. In my office, I downloaded photos and audio recordings onto a flash drive. After that, I went to Texas Roadhouse for steak. When I ate, it was too early to go home. I wanted to come just before bed to avoid conversation. At the bar, I ordered sherry. I haven't had a drink since college, but today I needed something to calm down. I returned home at almost 10 o'clock in the evening. I went into the bedroom and saw Anne with a laptop. Leaned over to kiss her and noticed she didn't smell Polo cologne, which means she most likely took a shower. Moreover, she wore perfume, which she usually only does when she wants sex. So does she want sex, or is she trying to hide her lover's scent? Anne looked at me and said, "Why are you so late?" I was worried. I should have called. I called, left a message saying I'd be back late, and explained where the kids were. If you haven't heard, it means your phone is turned off again. Anne, I may need to contact you urgently. Please don't turn it off, I replied. Anne stood up, went to her dresser, and took out her phone. Damn, you're right. It's off. I didn't turn it off. I don't know how it happened. Sorry, she muttered. She turned on the phone, scrolled through the voicemails, and turned on mine. Jim, I'm sorry. I was angry because you didn't take the children, and I was counting on you. You weren't even home when I returned. I was afraid something had happened to you, she said. And if it happened, how would the police contact you if your phone is turned off? I asked. Sorry. There was a lot to do at work. I didn't turn it off, she answered. I went into the bathroom and quickly checked the basket with dirty laundry. There were no panties there. That means she's already washed them. I went to bed with my laptop and was silent. Anne too. At 11 p.m., I put my laptop on charge and turned off the lights to annoy her. So we're going to bed, said Anne. She put down her laptop, went to the bathroom, and lay down. We were silent for several minutes. Remind me again why you weren't in the office during the day, I asked. Ted, my boss, and I went to a demonstration of new bottling equipment in Colorado Springs. We got back late, so he bought me dinner. We ate at Applebee's, you can check. Is this the answer to your question? Are you testing me? She asked. Yes and no, I answered and turned away. Since you asked this question, figure it out yourself. Advice to you, Anne. If you don't want this to go too far, ditch your distractor and go back to the way things were before. Otherwise, divorce awaits you ahead. Good night, I said. It was the first time I threatened her. I hope this works. I want her to stop. I lay quietly and pretended to be asleep, breathing heavily and making light snores from time to time. I heard Anne crying quietly, turning away from me. The entire weekend passed without incident. On Saturday, there was a football match, and on Sunday, we went for a walk and a picnic in the mountains. All the conversations in the car were with the children about landscapes and stones. On Sunday evening, Anne cooked us a wonderful dinner. Throughout the week, she prepared my favorite dishes. What's happening to her? Is she trying to make peace with me? I hope I scared her when I mentioned the word divorce. During dinner, the children were chatting, and I noticed that Anne never looked at me, only at them. After dinner, the whole family watched a children's movie on TV, then put the children to bed. All that night, I noticed that Anne was nervous and avoided looking me in the eye. I acted as if everything was fine. As we lay in bed with our books, several times Anne began to say something but stopped. When I turned off the light, she snuggled up to me and kissed my ear. "Do you want to play?" she asked. "Will you just lie there like dead again, or will you participate this time too?" I answered. "Darling, please don't kill the messenger." "I would love to make love to you," she said. I had long felt the need for intimacy, so I turned to her and kissed her tenderly. She responded, and a special connection quickly developed between us. There was a sense of initiative in her movements, even some excessive diligence, as if she wanted to do everything perfectly. I heard her sighs of delight, but I couldn't say for sure whether they were sincere or just a reflection of her desire to please me. After that, she lay down next to me, resting her head on my shoulder. "Honey, I'm sorry I've been acting like a bitch lately. Everything will be back to normal in a month or two, I promise," she said. "Why do I need to wait? Why not get back to normal now?" I asked. "It's too difficult," she replied and turned on her side, facing away from me. Monday. Gym. Anne made us breakfast and went to work. As usual, I took the children to school. When I got to the office, on my desk was the final report from the lab on my wife's panties. The DNA matched Ted Newsome. Okay, now I have solid evidence that they had sex. It's time to end this romance. On the way home, I decided it was time to talk to my wife. As far as I can tell, they only slept together twice, unless they actually went to Colorado Springs on Friday, as Anne claimed. I also assumed they had a lot of kisses when she was late at work. But were there only kisses? Did she give him pleasure? Did they have sex in one of their cars? I wondered what exactly I wanted from Anne. First, I wanted her to tell me the truth, all the details of this affair. It's not that I'm a pervert, but if I find out the whole truth now, then there will be no surprises later that will reopen the wound. Secondly, I wanted her to end the affair, and to make sure she did, I might have to talk to Mr. Newsome again. It really hurts me to know that she slept with him, even twice. Will I be able to get over this and forgive her? I need details. Do I want a divorce? No, if we divorce, the children will end up in a broken family. She will get a house and children. I don't want to be a weekend dad. I love her, and we have had 9 years of a wonderful marriage. I need to put my pride and ego aside and do what's best for the whole family. Based on how I usually behave with people, I will use serious threats to get her to confess. I will scare her with threats of divorce and anything else to achieve the result I need. Ah, Mr. Newsome, what do I want to do with him? I could use my connections at work to make him disappear forever after causing him a lot of suffering. This is what I want, but logic dictates that it is better to punish him in a legal way rather than physically. I can't be a good father if I end up in prison. After dinner, the children went to their rooms to do their homework. "Anne, we need to talk seriously. Get something to drink and sit down," I said. She brought us both iced tea and sat down across from me at the kitchen table. There was an expression of extreme concern on her face. She fiddled with her hands. I was sure she knew what we were going to talk about. "And I've been feeling for a long time that something is wrong. Your behavior has changed, and it is having a negative impact on the family, especially the children. Our sex life has decreased from daily lovemaking to once a week, and sometimes less. You are as sexually active as I am, and once a week is clearly not enough for both of us, so you find satisfaction somewhere else." Anne opened her mouth to say something, but I raised my hand to stop her from finishing her speech. "In fact, I've known about your affair for a long time, but I hoped that you would fix everything yourself. I dropped hints to you, but you didn't get it, so now the shit has hit the fan," I said. Anne's eyes opened wide, and her face turned pale. She bit her lower lip. "You've gotten too close to your boss, Mr. Ted Newsome. It's time to stop this, otherwise I will file for divorce." "The choice is yours," I said. "What? What are you talking about?" she lied, hoping that she could get out of it with a lie. "And I have a lot of evidence, so stop lying and talk to me honestly. We've been married for a long time. At least show me some respect and don't lie. Tell the truth, because you have no idea what exactly I know," I said. How did you know?" she asked. "How I found out is not important, but I will say this. Because of your carelessness, I have known about it for several weeks," I replied. "Did 2 men from the government come to you? Did they tell you this?" she asked. "No. Why on earth should government people talk to me?" "Honey, Last Wednesday, Ted called me into his office and told me that two men from the government came to see him on Tuesday. He said they weren't cops, but they claimed to be working for the feds. They were dressed in black and wearing sunglasses, like the guys from the movie Men in Black. They knew everything about my relationship with Ted, and they had proof. They demanded that he end the affair immediately. They said there would be consequences if he didn't do it. Then they beat him. I thought they might have come to you too, Anne explained. I don't know anything about it, I lied. Now let's get back to discussing your affair with Mr. Newsome. Anne didn't say anything, just stared at me. How did it all start? And remember, no lies, I asked. From the day he appeared in the company, he constantly complimented me. He said what a beautiful hairstyle I had, how well I dressed, how smart I was. He invited me to dinner at expensive restaurants almost every day, and I enjoyed spending time and talking with him. He is very smart and easy to talk to. One afternoon, when we got into his car, before he drove me back to work, he kissed me. He's a good kisser. I liked it, and I answered him. Darling, it was just a kiss, a harmless, innocent kiss. I'm really sorry. So you want to say that all that happened between you was innocent kisses after dinner? And I have evidence that your affair went far beyond kissing. So are you going to be honest, or should I go to a lawyer tomorrow and file for divorce? I asked. We just kissed after lunch. Just innocent kisses, she replied. I'll give you one more chance. Either you start telling the truth, or I'll go upstairs right now, collect your things, and move you to the guest room. And tomorrow morning you can leave. The first thing I do is go to a lawyer and file for divorce. So decide, I said angrily. I don't want to leave. I don't want a divorce. Darling, I love only you. Honestly, it was just kissing after dinner, she said. Okay, let's say you're telling the truth. Then let's talk about those evenings when you came home 30 minutes late. I know you did something you shouldn't have done, I said. Anne looked at me for a few seconds, then shook her head in agreement. We both enjoyed those afternoon kisses, but there was little time to really enjoy them. Then he invited me to meet after work. We would get into his car, and he would drive to a secluded area in the parking lot where there were no security cameras. There we kissed, and then he took me back to my car, and I drove home, she admitted. Are you saying that your delays after work are just kissing in his car? I asked. Yes, he's a great kisser. To be honest, I loved it. This raised my self-esteem. I felt attractive since a young man was interested in me, a married woman. And it seemed to me that it was harmless because they were just kisses. Like under the mistletoe at Christmas, just innocent kisses, but a lot, she replied. And tell the truth about your delays after work. I know it wasn't just about kissing, I said. The first few times we just kissed, like in our student years. At first there were only kisses between us, but gradually his touches became more and more daring. Over time, our meetings became filled with greater intimacy, and he began to show special attention to me. I didn't do anything for him in return, but one day he asked for reciprocity. Then I decided to answer his request. It turned out to be easier than I expected. I silently shook my head. Darling, what? I interrupted Anne. I'm trying to understand what I did wrong, why you needed to seek satisfaction from another man, and at the same time you admit that you liked it. I always thought that our sex life was good for both of us. God, I would be a terrible lover if you stopped having sex with me, but continued to develop your relationship with him, I said angrily. Darling, no, it's not about you. You are a wonderful lover. You always give me pleasure and make me feel good. You didn't do anything wrong. It's entirely my fault. I'm ashamed of what I did to Ted, but I'm trying to be honest with you. Yes, I liked it, at that moment. But now I understand how wrong it was. It wasn't worth the pain I caused you and the guilt I now feel, Anne said. So while the children and I were waiting for you at home, you satisfied your desires with him. You wasted time that belonged to the family. And since he satisfied you completely, you no longer needed sex with me. Isn't that why our intimate life has come to naught? I asked. I don't know. Maybe. Darling, until you showed me the calendar, I didn't even realize that you and I had almost stopped making love. Now I see what it looked like from the outside. But I didn't do it on purpose. I'm so ashamed, Anne cried. Oh God, how stupid I am. I neglected the man I love for fleeting pleasures. I'm so ashamed, and I can't even talk about what I did to Ted. I know you still have many questions, and I will try to answer them honestly, said Anne. And then let's talk about that very Saturday when you had to work. You've never worked on a Saturday before, so I wondered, why now? You said it was because of a previous FDA inspection and preparation for a re-inspection. And I called the quality assurance manager at your plant, and he said there have been no recent bad FDA inspections and no inspections in the near future. So you lied to me again. In fact, that Saturday you went to his apartment and spent the entire day there having sex. Don't deny it because I have a lot of evidence. Let me show you just one photo, the one of you walking into our house that night after having sex with Mr. Newsome all day, I said. I handed her the photo I had printed from my phone. She gasped when she saw her. Oh God, I look terrible. I can't believe it's me. Darling, I'm so sorry that I caused us such pain. Please know that I love only you. Please forgive me. This photograph is not the Anne I married. This is a photo of a woman of easy virtue, a depraved woman, the one who cares only about her own pleasures. Because you were too busy having sex and were late, you didn't shower with him. I know you were planning on taking a shower as soon as you got home, but I took these photos before you could. That night, I found your panties in the laundry basket. The sample contained traces of biological material, so I sent it for analysis. The laboratory confirmed the presence of Mr. Newsome's DNA. I have a report if you want to see it. This evidence can be grounds for divorce and is admissible in court, I said. I placed a folder with documents and a plastic bag with her panties on the table. Anne didn't say anything. She took the package and stared at it. I'm so sorry, honey. I honestly don't remember how it happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen, because I know it did. I take full responsibility. Please know that I love only you, she said. So you had sex with him all day while I was sitting at home waiting for you alone. You stopped having sex with me in the evenings and gave your desire to your lover. Like I said, apparently I'm a bad lover for you. You replaced me with a younger man. Maybe we should get a divorce, Anne. This way you can be with your lover, and I can start a new life with children, I said angrily. I hoped that my words would reach her. Darling, I don't want to replace you, and I don't want a divorce. It wasn't like that on Saturday. Yes, I agreed to meet him, but we did not agree on sex. He said he just wanted to talk and drink wine. He enjoyed talking to me and wanted to get to know me better. That's it. I agreed to meet because I was pleased that the young man was interested in me. When we came to him, we just talked. He is easy to talk to and very smart, so the conversation was interesting. Then he opened a bottle of wine, and we drank a couple of glasses, continuing to talk. Then we started making out on his couch. I admit, I assumed it might happen that day, and I was fine with that when I agreed to come. But somehow it happened that we ended up in bed. In fact, I would never agree to have sex with him. Never. I don't know how we ended up in bed, and I remember almost nothing about what happened next. Honestly, I don't even remember us having sex, but I know we did because my panties were wet, and when you and I made love that night, everything hurt. I don't know how long it lasted or how many times we did it. For some reason, I just have no memory of it. At some point, we fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already after 6 in the evening, and I immediately called you from him to say that I was going home. I needed a shower, but didn't have time. We got dressed, and he drove me to my car. I planned to go straight to the shower as soon as I got home. Honey, I'm so sorry, she explained. Now let's discuss how my Saturday went. I was home alone. I was ashamed of the way I acted this morning, so I decided to make amends by asking you out on a date and trying to rekindle our marriage. But you came back too late, and I had to cancel our dinner at the restaurant. I wanted to watch your favorite movie with you, cuddling on the couch. Then I was going to make love to you because we haven't done this for a long time. But when you got home, you just undressed and went to bed. No movie, no hugs. You refused me sex again, and I got angry, so I insisted. Damn it, you just lay there like you were dead. You gave all your ardor to your lover, and there is nothing left for me. The tank was empty, I said with rage. Honey, I didn't want to make love that night because I was afraid that you would realize that Ted had already had sex with me. I was too lost in my thoughts. This is probably why I did not participate in the process. God, I'm so sorry. When you went to the bathroom, I realized that you weren't enjoying yourself. Guilt washed over me, and I felt disgusted with myself. I literally became sick from the realization of what I had done. I cheated on you, I lied to you, and I couldn't even make love to you. You didn't give me any preparation for sex. You just had rough sex with me. It hurt, but I couldn't say anything. Otherwise, you would have found out what happened that day. After you finished, I just lay down on my side and cried in shame. I wanted to tell you that Ted took advantage of me, but I decided not to say anything because I didn't want to hurt you. I was afraid of what you would do to me. I was ashamed, I hated myself, and became depressed, knowing that I had somehow allowed this to happen, she said. Now tell me about that Friday. I know you weren't in your office. You lied to me about going to Colorado Springs with your boss. In fact, you were in his apartment again and had sex with him all day. I took out the plastic bag containing her thong and threw it on the table in front of Anne. These are your panties, right? I asked. Anne looked at the bag, turned it over several times in her hands, and then said, Yes, these are mine, but how did you get them? I decided not to answer her and moved a few photos closer to her photos. I took as her boss dropped her off at her car that Wednesday night. Anne looked at the photos, especially the one where they could be seen kissing through the back window of his car. Are you ready to tell me the truth about that Friday? I asked. Anne shook her head and simply looked down. Ted told me on Thursday that we were going to Colorado Springs on Friday afternoon to look at the new packaging line. He lied to me, and I believed him. He said we'd be back late in the evening, so he was going to treat me to dinner and then take me home. He even asked me to tell you the same thing so that you wouldn't worry about me coming back so late. Darling, I believed him. I told you exactly what he told me. However, all this turned out to be a lie, just an excuse to drag me back into bed. When I got into his car and we started driving, he said we were going to his apartment just to talk. He promised that we would have dinner later. He wanted to discuss why I no longer wanted to sleep with him and admitted that he had fallen in love with me. My pride was flattered by the fact that a young man fell in love with me, an adult, married woman. I didn't intend to fall in love with him, but I agreed to go on the condition that we just talk. I didn't plan to kiss him, much less have sex. Plus, I felt so guilty about Saturday, and I just couldn't let it happen again. When we arrived at his place, we had lunch and then started talking. I explained to him that I would never sleep with him again. Moreover, I said that I wanted to stop our after-work kisses too. I was really going to end this whole thing. I explained to him that I felt guilty and couldn't handle it mentally. I said I'm pretty sure you've already guessed what's going on, but I don't know what you'll do. I said I love you and I want to rekindle our love. He said he understood, but that he loved me too. Honestly, darling, I tried to stop everything. The guilt just didn't allow me to continue. He opened a bottle of wine and we continued talking, but mostly about sex. He asked me about our intimate life, and then, at some point, I woke up in his bed, we were having sex. Everything is a blur, but I have fragmentary memories that we tried different positions and that I had very intense emotions. They were strong, but not satisfying. Then I managed to take a shower with him, and he, as promised, took me to dinner. I couldn't find my thong, so I realized he took it. Please tell me how you got them. So you told him that you wouldn't sleep with him anymore, but he was going to have sex with you again, and what did he do? He added something to your glass of wine, most likely some kind of illegal substance. After all, he works for a pharmaceutical company. Don't you think it's strange that both times you ended up in bed with him, you barely remember what happened after the wine? I asked. I didn't think about it. Perhaps this explains why my memories are so hazy. I couldn't understand how I ended up in his bed twice. I would never do that, she said. Crap. I didn't think to check his apartment for illegal drugs when I was there. I need to go back and find evidence. If he really gave you some kind of drug, you should have remembered almost nothing. Such drugs block memory, but at the same time enhance sexual sensations. Sex itself remains normal, but the brain's reaction to it becomes much stronger. That's why men use such drugs against women, I explained. Oh God, this explains a lot. Ted said that I was very loose in bed, that I begged him to continue. But that's not like me at all, she said. If you had been honest with me that night, I could have taken you to the hospital for a blood test. If he gave you an illegal drug without your consent, that's a criminal offense, and he could already be in jail, I said. I saw that Anne was deep in thought. Honey, I want to continue talking about illegal substances, but we need to get the girls to bed. It's late, said Anne. We went upstairs together, put the girls to bed, kissed them good night, and wished them a good night's sleep. Anne went to the shower, and I went downstairs, collected all the evidence, including her panties, and locked them in the safe in my office. Then I poured us some fresh iced tea and sat at the kitchen table, thinking about what I could have said differently. Maybe I could have caught her better, but what's done is done. After about 15-20 minutes, Anne returned. She was wearing a robe and had her hair wrapped in a towel. Anne, you deeply hurt me with your betrayal. But assuming you were on something, then sex with Ted was not consensual. This completely changes the situation. I can only trust you that you would not have slept with him of your own free will. But even if he took advantage of your trust, there are other moments that occurred with your consent. You showed sympathy for him, allowed him to be closer, experienced warm feelings for him, and all this consciously. You voluntarily chose this path and admitted that you liked it. When I close my eyes, I see how you were there with him, sharing moments that should have been ours alone. I'm mad at you right now, and part of me wants you to stay in the guest room until we can figure out what's going on between us. I need to ask you some questions. I hope the answers help clear things up. First question, why did you start all this? You understood that this would destroy our marriage. I myself cannot find the answer to this question. At the very beginning, I liked the attention he gave me, compliments, gentle kisses, caresses, touches. Yes, I liked it, and I let it continue. I never thought that kissing was something bad. It seemed something harmless, like kissing on New Year's Eve. But when he started caressing me, it gave me incredible pleasure. However, this is not an excuse. I was just lost in my pleasure. I'm so sorry, honey, she explained. Anne, are you still on birth control? I asked. I didn't find your bottle of pills. Oh God, yes, I keep taking them. Have you looked in the kitchen cabinet to see where the vitamins are? I'll bring them now and show you, she replied. Anne jumped up from the kitchen table and went to the cabinet where we keep our vitamins. She grabbed the pink package and brought it to the table for me to look at. Fine. At least she won't get pregnant by her lover. You didn't use condoms, did you? I asked. Darling, I can't remember all the details of what happened. Probably not, because that Saturday night I felt a strange sensation while driving home. And when I took a shower, this feeling intensified. When you and I were together that night, you said one phrase, because of which I realized that you had guessed everything. I took a shower at Ted's on Friday afternoon and washed myself thoroughly to make sure everything was okay, Anne replied. Do you love him? I asked. No, I don't love him. I love only you. It was just a stupid fling based on my need for attention from a younger man, she said. How do I know that the next time some young man notices you, you won't run away from him and sleep with him? I asked. I can say that this story with Ted scared me to death. The guilt I feel is simply unimaginable, and now I'm also afraid that you might divorce me. I don't want to go through that again. I understand that you may not believe me, but I promise myself to never let another man get so close to me again. I suppose I can ask you the same thing. How do I know that you won't fall for some woman much younger than me, especially when I get older? I'll answer this. I never gave you any reason to doubt your trust in me. Besides, after all our conversations about how several of our friends cheated and got divorced, You know very well that I do not accept cheating in a marriage on either side, I replied. And you destroyed all my trust in you. You lied to me, to your husband, to your best friend, multiple times. And now that we're talking, how do I know you're telling the truth? You keep saying you're sorry, but how can I believe it? You claim that you love me, but at the same time you admit that you enjoyed sex with him, and you admit that you denied me sex. And are you playing with me just to stay under the roof of this house? I asked. Before, I would simply tell you, trust me, I will do the right thing. But I understand that now there is no trust left. I know I can't ask you to trust me. You're right, I was a terrible liar. I'm not even sure that I trust myself anymore. I can say that the guilt of deceiving you made me unhappy. I myself can't believe that I lied to you, the kindest person in the world, said Anne. All I can say now is, if you let me remain your wife, I will be the best wife in the world. I promise. Anne was silent for a short moment. She burst into tears and covered her face with her hands. God, I ruined everything, she said. Last point. If you want to stay married to me, then I insist that you end this affair right now, and not in 2 months. I understand that he is your boss, and you will see him every day, but you must stop everything immediately. Tonight, I said firmly. Of course, I want to remain your wife and stop all this. On Friday, I already tried to stop. Can I do this tomorrow at work? I need to approach this diplomatically to keep my job, Anne explained. Take the phone. You call him right now and tell him it's over, I said. Darling, I'll have to work for him for a couple more months. Let me talk to him tomorrow in his office, she asked. Sorry, but that won't work. You lied too much. I can't believe what you'll say tomorrow in front of me. No, you call him now and put him on speaker so I can hear the whole conversation. If I suspect something is wrong or that you are lying again, I will intervene in the conversation. Is it clear? I asked. Please, darling, let me do it my way, she begged. I can't do this. According to you, you already tried to break up with him on Friday. And how did it end? He slept with you. If you want to stay with me, you will do as I say. Call, I said angrily. Anne went to get her purse, took out her cell phone, and dialed his number, then put it on speaker. She sat down at the table next to me. Hello, his voice was heard. Ted, this is Anne. Sorry for calling so late. It's okay, I didn't sleep anyway. What's happened? He asked. Tonight my husband confronted me with evidence. Evidence of what we were doing. He has evidence, including DNA, that you and I slept together. There are photographs and audio recordings. Ted, it's over between us. On Friday, I already tried to tell you that everything is over between us. I will continue to work as your assistant, but now we will only have a business relationship. Boss-employee. No more lunches together or trips to your house. It's over. And wait, I would like to continue our relationship, and I think you want this too. I'm only here for a couple more months, and then you and your husband can return to your old life. Anne, I really like you. I think I've fallen in love with you. I'd like you to come with me back to Switzerland. Abandon the man I love? Abandon children? No, I won't leave my family for you. Ted, it's over. Anne, we'll talk about this tomorrow in the office. I think in the morning I'll go to the HR department and tell everything in order to save my job and prove to my husband that I'm no longer connected with you. No, don't do that. We'll both be fired. I promise I won't pester you. One more question, Ted. Did you put something in my drink to get me into bed? Why should I do this? You yourself went to bed voluntarily, and twice. The second time you acted like a wild animal, insisting that you were not enough. Why should I pump you up? Ted, I'm sure you mixed something in. I told you no dozens of times in your apartment on Friday. You knew I didn't agree, and you put something on me so that I would end up in your bed. I don't remember anything after drinking a glass of wine both times. I can't tell my husband what we did because I have no memories. It sounds like you were using some kind of club drug for sex. And I really like you, and what you did to me in bed proves that you like me too. I didn't force you to have sex with me. You did it voluntarily, moreover, You begged for a continuation. Anne, I think I love you and could take better care of you than your husband. I would like you to come with me to Switzerland when I leave. This is where I intervened. I understand that you would like this, but this will not happen, I said loudly. Anne will write a statement to the HR department setting out the facts about her relationship with you and give it to me. If you make at least one attempt at her sexually or personally, I will personally take this statement to HR at your plant. I can imagine how this will affect your career. He hung up. Anne and I looked at each other. Darling, if you can forgive me, I promise that I will become the best wife in the world. I will do whatever you want. I promise to make amends for the rest of my life, she said, crying. And you wasted time that could have been devoted to your family and me to satisfy your desires. This time has already passed, and it cannot be returned. Even if the act of penetration itself may not have been entirely your fault, you were still kissing him, letting him caress you, giving him pleasure. A loving and faithful wife does not do this. You ask me to forgive you, but what about all this? Do you think I'm going to let you walk out of this situation like nothing happened? Darling, I admit that I did all this, and now I understand how wrong it was. I hope someday you can forgive me for these terrible actions. I promise to prove my love for you every day. I love you and only you. I'm looking forward to showing you how much, Anne said. I thought about her words for a couple of minutes. And if I allow you to remain my wife, you will have to do everything possible to be a good wife, a good lover, and a good mother. But there will be conditions, I said. Firstly, you must devote special time to the children. They don't understand why you've been acting this way lately. You need to become a good mother to them again, like you were many months ago. Secondly, you lied a lot. As far as I know, you've never lied to me before. What hurts me most in your novel is the lies. We were best friends. We shared all our secrets. So from now on, you will tell me the truth about everything, even if it is unpleasant. If I catch you in a lie even once, you will fly out of the house, and we will file for divorce. Thirdly, part of me wants you to sleep in the guest room since you chose to have sex with him. Basically, you killed our sex life. But I still need daily sex, and you are still my legal wife, so you are obligated to provide me with sex. You must be available to me anytime I want. You will do everything I ask pleasure, allow me to caress you in all ways, engage in other types of sex. No more, I'm tired, or not today. And if you love me as much as you say, then when we make love, you will actively participate, no more lying flat and no more fake screams, because I know how to distinguish the real from the fake. I also expect that sometimes you will initiate sex yourself. If you turn me down one time or lie there like a blow-up doll, you'll end up naked on the front lawn with the doors locked. Fourthly, we both need to get tested for STDs since we made love during the period when you slept with your boss. Until the results come, we won't have sex. Fifthly, you must come up with ways to regain my trust. I'm not talking about you treating me to your favorite dishes or feigning pleasure just to please me. You yourself destroyed my trust. Now you must find a way to fix it. And you need to figure out how to fix the situation in which you allowed him to do all this to you, getting pleasure from it, and at the same time depriving me of intimacy. For starters, you can at least tell me where and what you are doing if you are not at home. And please turn on your phone. Yes, I could put a GPS tracker on your car, or read your email, check your phone, or maybe follow you around to make sure you're really where you say you are. But I don't have time for all this, and I shouldn't do it. You're an adult, so act like it. You know where is good and where is bad, so make the right choice. But if I even for a moment suspect that you are on your own again, I will throw you out of the house without talking. No third chances, just divorce, I said. And I told you a lot of things. Maybe you want to say something, I asked. Yes, first of all, I accept all your conditions and will willingly follow them. You are much softer towards me than I would be towards you if you cheated. It's because you're better than me. Darling, this stupid affair had nothing to do with you. You didn't do anything to make me look for sex on the side. You are a good lover, and you always satisfy me. I always enjoyed our intimate moments, even if I didn't tell you about it. This whole thing with Ted is completely my fault, and I am responsible for it, although I myself don't understand how we got to bed. You're not a middle-aged woman, and you probably won't understand what it means for your self-esteem when a younger man pays attention to you. But I didn't try to replace you with a young lover. I know that men, reading all sorts of stories, always want to know whether another man had a larger size and whether he was better in bed. I can say that he is not bigger than you, and certainly not fatter. As for, is he better, I honestly don't remember what we had in bed. He may be the worst lover of my life. What I felt next to Ted was just something new and unusual, a stupid hobby, like a schoolgirl's. I know that women in such situations like to say that he is not better, just different. And this is true not only in sex, but also in conversations, in the way they spent time, in the way they touched each other. I'll explain it this way. There's Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper, both quench your thirst, but they have different tastes. Both you and Ted could give me satisfaction, but each of you had different methods and feelings. I must say that your method is much closer to mine. Every day I'm going to show you how much I like your ways. Anne spoke up. I didn't say anything. We just sat and looked at each other, probably tired of talking. Darling, I'm tired and my brain is already racing. I'll go upstairs to our bed, said Anne. I'll take a shower and then go to bed too, I answered. I showered and climbed into bed with Anne. I thought that she might already be asleep because she was lying on her side with her back to me. But as soon as I lay down, she turned and kissed me. If we have already, suppose, contracted an STD, then perhaps it's not scary if we make love right now, asked Anne. I liked her logical approach, and I admit I myself wanted a release. I pulled her towards me, and we made love, not hard sex, but love. Everything happened slowly and thoughtfully. I realized that I didn't have to prove anything, that I didn't need to pretend to be the best lover for show. If Anne wants to stay with me, this is how I will make love to her. Anne was very active, which had not been the case for a long time. After everything, we lay next to each other, breathing heavily. Have you forgiven me for what I did? Asked Anne. Anne, I forgave you as soon as I realized that he essentially drugged you. This is closer to the concept of sex without consent, so it's easier for me to forgive you. But I'm still angry that you started making out with him and so on, I answered. Anne moved closer to me, put her head on my shoulder, and hugged me. Darling, I really love you. I will prove to you every day how strong I am, she whispered in my ear. Anna, what do you think will happen at your job tomorrow? I asked. I worry about this too. What if I take a day off tomorrow? Could you not go to work too? Asked Anne. I have an important video call in the morning, but I can be free and come home by lunchtime. I think you need to write a statement to HR in the morning. The children and I will leave, it will be quiet, and you can calmly arrange everything. And then, after lunch, we will submit the letter to the HR department together. And in the evening, when we go to bed, you will show me what you have learned. I laughed. Anne pretended to be angry and lightly hit my arm. I didn't learn anything from him. He's so young, it's more like I taught him something, she answered. Anne prepared a wonderful breakfast for the whole family. I left for work a little earlier so that I could leave for lunch. Anne sent the kids to school and called work, saying she would take the whole week off. Anne called me around 9 in the morning. Hi, Anne, I replied. Ted just called me on my cell phone. He sounded very upset and seemed somewhat lost. He burst into tears and said that he fell in love with me. Then he got angry and threatened to fire me if I didn't come to him to talk. I offered to meet somewhere neutral, but he insists that I come to his apartment because there, according to him, we can speak in a raised voice and not disturb anyone. I said no because he would try to get me into bed again. He promised he wouldn't try. He says he just needs to be with me and talk about his feelings. I said that I would think about it and call back. What do you say? Asked Anne. Actually, there's nothing to talk about because it's all already over. If you come, he will do everything to get you into bed, even pumping you up with illegal substances. There's no win-win situation, I replied. I'm a little scared that he will be able to fire me while my application to HR has not yet been submitted. And yes, I understand that if I go to him, he will try to seduce me again, said Anne. Darling, tell him that you will come at 11 a.m. I have a plan, I said. What are you going to do? I don't want to talk yet. This damn affair has opened up Pandora's box. That will take a long time to close. I need to make a couple of calls. For now, type a letter to the HR department. Sign the original and hide it at home, and take an unsigned copy with you. I need to call now, I answered and hung up. Then I called my friend and boss, George Mason, now the director of the CIA. It took some time and patience to contact him directly, but I finally got through to him. Mason is listening, he said. George, this is Jim from Denver. I introduced myself. Hello, Jim. What's happened? He asked. I briefly told him about the affair and how the seducer made threats. He mentioned his threat to revoke his visa and passport. It's possible, Jim. I can call the State Department, but I'll need a very good reason. I think it's better that you solve the problem yourself. As a last resort, we have Casper's Point, but I don't want to hear that, he said. The Casper Clause is a method by which a person can be made to disappear forever, so as not to leave any trace that could embarrass the U.S. government. I explained to George what I was planning to do and what I would need to do. The downside is that my wife will find out who I really am and that I am a black man in a black suit. He said it was better than resorting to Casper's Clause. Officially, he cannot approve my plan, but from the way he responded, I realized that he still supported my idea and would provide the necessary help. We ended the conversation, and I got down to planning. I called Rob into my office. Rob, let's get suited up. We have a task. You need to be armed, I said. By 10 o'clock in the morning, we were both in our uniforms and drove out to Mr. Newsome's house in a black SUV. And I felt calmer after talking with Jim. I don't know what he's up to, but I can only trust him. I sat down at the computer and drafted a statement for HR in which I described Ted's seduction, including the episodes where he put something on me. I wrote it so that all the blame would fall on him, and I would look like the injured party. I printed out a copy to take with me and hid the signed original at home in our bedroom. At 15 minutes to 11, I left for Ted's apartment. I parked the car in his driveway and walked to the door. As soon as the doorbell rang, Ted immediately opened it and motioned for him to enter. He offered to drink something, but I understood perfectly well that I couldn't eat or drink at his house. We sat on the sofa, and he started talking about how he fell in love with me and wanted me to go to Switzerland with him. He spoke haltingly and repeated himself. Then he started crying. He apologized and went to the bathroom. When he returned, he was completely naked. He sat down next to me and announced that we would now make love, and he would prove that he was a better lover than Jim. I handed him a copy of my statement to HR and told him it was all over. He got visibly angry, and I stood up to leave, but Ted jumped up and grabbed me. Jim. We parked in front of Mr. Newsome's house at about 11:10 a.m. We put on dark glasses and black surgical gloves. We came to the door. Rob tried turning the handle. The door was not locked, so we opened it and went inside. I heard voices from the living room and headed there. Mr. Newsome was completely naked and held a clothed Anne by the shoulders. They seemed to be arguing. Let her go, said Rob. He is so large and imposing that he scares everyone, even me sometimes. He came within 2 feet of Mr. Newsome. Ted turned around and saw us very close. He looked up at the huge and stern Rob. His face turned pale, and he released Anne. Crap, you again, said Ted. I noticed Anne looking at me. She came up to me. Jim, is it you? What are you doing? She asked. I opened my coat so they could see that I was armed. Both looked surprised. I want you both to sit down. Immediately, I said firmly. Mr. Newsome sat down on the sofa, and Anne sat on the chair opposite. They both didn't take their eyes off me. Rob, go upstairs and search everything until you find illegal substances, I said. Listen, moron, don't try to run away from the couch. I added and hit him sharply in the face. He grabbed his cheek. We already told you to stay away. Now you will pay for having sex with my wife. I walked up to the chair in which Anne was sitting. He pulled out one of our business cards from his pocket, which only shows the S seal and a phone number, and handed it to her. MWE do not carry identification that would confirm our authority, such as a badge or an official ID. This could connect us to a specific government agency. When we are in uniform, we have no driver's license, no credit cards, no identification at all. There are no tags on the clothes. We simply don't exist. If anyone has questions about our government, we simply give them a card with a phone number. When someone calls this number, there is a person answering 24 hours a day who only says, "The major is in touch." There is no indication to which department he belongs. Typically, the person testing our credentials only needs to identify themselves, and the major will give just enough information to confirm that the cardholder has the highest authority in the United States, and that he is an official agent of the U.S. government with full powers. Major does not answer any other questions and simply hangs up. We ourselves can call this number if we need help or information, or to report on the progress of a task. And take your mobile phone and call this number. Ask about Doc Jim, I said. Anne frowned, but looked in her bag for her phone and dialed the number. When they answered, she asked about Doc Jim and gave her full married name. I don't know what exactly she was told, but the explanation lasted more than a minute, which was longer than usual. All this time she did not take her eyes off me, then hung up. I believe my friend George gave special instructions that the whole situation be explained to her in more detail. You lied to me. You don't work for the Bureau of Reclamation, she said. Sorry, that was the requirement of the U.S. government. Now that you know everything, you will have to sign the Official Secrets Act. This will be our little secret, I said. I approached Mr. Newsom. So, asshole, I'm not some low-level government clerk, as you put it. I work for the director of the CIA and often directly for the President of the United States. However, if you tell anyone about this or mention Men in Black, the government will deny everything. No one will believe your story because everyone thinks Men in Black only exist in the movies. But we can't allow you to drag the government and Anne's name through the newspapers during the trial. Damn, we asked you to stop, but you didn't listen. Now we have no choice but to eliminate you. Forever. Look at Anne because this is the last time you will see her, I explained. Listen, dude, it was just a fun fling while I was working here. I didn't want anything bad. Yes, I fell in love with Anne. It happened that way. I didn't plan it. But you shouldn't even have known about us. What are you going to do? Asked Ted. I took out the gun and placed it on the kitchen counter where Mr. Newsom and my wife could see it. Then I took a package out of my pocket. It was a plastic shower curtain. I unwrapped it and laid it on the floor. Usually, when we have to eliminate a person, we do it quickly and quietly, trying not to leave evidence or blood. Shower curtains help us a lot in keeping the clutter under control. Then we have an arrangement with the local crematorium. Finally, we simply flush the ashes down the toilet, I explained. I winked at Anne, hoping that she would realize that I was basically bluffing. At about this point, Rob came down from the top floor. I didn't find anything, Chief, he said. Look around the kitchen. He's uncorking wine in the kitchen, which means there must be illegal substances in there somewhere, I gave instructions. Rob began rummaging through cabinets and drawers. Found it, he said, and showed me a bottle of prescription pills. They were in a box with a tool for uncorking. He handed me the bottle. I opened it and poured a few pills into my palm. Well, and yet you drugged Anne to get her into bed. In the US, it is a criminal offense to give this drug to a woman without her knowledge. Usually they give from 10 to 15 years. Isn't that right, Rob? I asked. Rob nodded. It's not me. This is my first time seeing these pills. You planted them yourself, Ted objected. We wear gloves so we don't leave fingerprints at the crime scene. We'll check the bottle for your fingerprints. If they end up there, you'll get a long sentence, idiot. I know that Anne will confirm that you gave her this drug twice without her knowledge. It's good that you are a U.S. citizen and not a tourist with a Swiss passport, because this way we can hold you accountable and no Switzerland or your big pharmaceutical company will help you. An American prison awaits you, I said. He lowered his head, realizing that he was caught, and smiled at me. Rob, take Mr. Newsome upstairs, let him get dressed, and at the same time take his passports, I said. While they were upstairs, Anne stood up and came over to me. I don't know who you are now. Who am I married to? James Bond? Secret agent? Is your name really Jim, or did you lie about that too? Asked Anne. I told you that your affair opened Pandora's box. We are not allowed to tell our families what we do at work. I had to ask permission from the director of the CIA to reveal my activities to you. And yes, my name really is Jim. Everything you knew about me was true, except for information about my work. But what I do at work does not affect our personal lives. What's important is what happens between us, I explained. At this point, Rob brought in a dressed Mr. Newsome and handed me his passports. And now, Mr. Newsome, you look much better. Please sit down on the plastic curtain. Let's not get the floor dirty, right? I said. I raised the gun and pointed it at the curtain on the floor. He sat down in its center, and I continued to keep my weapon ready, aimed at him. Ted Newsome, by authority of the U.S. government, I am authorized to give you a choice. Option 1, you plead guilty to giving Anne ecstasy on 2 occasions without her knowledge and to 2 counts of sexual assault. You will be convicted based on all the evidence collected against you. You will spend many years in prison. At the same time, you will never say a word about our existence after all. We do not exist, I said. Option 2, we destroy you right here and now, then we send the body to the crematorium and dump the ashes into the sewer. Personally, I hope you choose this option because I want to finish you off with my own hands. I will do this slowly and as painfully as possible for what you did to my wife. It will hurt you so much that you yourself will ask me to kill you, I added with a smile. I cocked the bolt of my Colt to chamber a round. Ted noticed this and immediately burst into tears, a grown man, but he cried, I've seen this before. The choice is yours. How will you decide? I asked. And it's better for you to leave now so as not to see how everything will happen. Get into our car and go home. I need to figure it out myself. Anne stood up and took a few steps towards the front door. When she came abreast of Mr. Newsome, she stopped and turned around. She seemed to understand what I was getting at. Look, it was just fun while I was working here. Anne was great at kissing and caressing. I couldn't resist. I needed to feel her in bed. I understood that she herself would not agree, so I gave her a small dose both times. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Guys, I don't want to die. Please, Ted begged, continuing to cry. I pulled out a small voice recorder. If you don't want to die, you'll have to admit your guilt on tape. Tell her that these pills are yours and that you gave them to Anne twice without her knowledge in order to get sex with her, I said. I turned on the recorder and handed it to Ted. He was silent for half a minute, then he said everything exactly as I ordered. I then asked for his full name and date. I took the recorder and turned off the recording. Rob, call the police, I ordered. I walked up to Mr. Newsome and pointed the gun at him again. If you refuse the agreement, you will immediately move on to our second option. This will happen with lightning speed. You're walking down the street, and suddenly you're lying on the ground with a bullet between your eyes, I warned. I holstered the gun and put Newsome's passport in my pocket. About 10 minutes later, 2 plainclothes police officers arrived. Rob and I explained to them that we were government agents and were involved because the wife of a high-ranking government official was having an affair. We reported what we found and reported that Mr. Newsome confessed to everything. I gave the detective Ted's Swiss passport, a recording of his confession, a bottle of pills, and a copy of Anne's letter in which she described the affair. Anne confirmed to the detective how it all happened both times, that Ted lured her to him by deception and mixed her pills, and then took advantage of her condition. However, she kept silent about their long kisses and squeezing. Mr. Newsome remained silent, continuing to sit on the curtain and cry. The second policeman picked him up and handcuffed him. I said that Anne would give official testimony, but her identity had to be kept secret because of her husband's position. The detective objected, said that this could not be done, and demanded our testimony too. I shook my head. "Detective, we weren't here." "We don't exist," I replied and gave him one of those cards, and then we left. I drove home with Anne, and Rob returned to the office in our SUV. At home, I changed into casual clothes, and Anne cooked us a late lunch. We hardly spoke at the table, but Anne looked at me all the time. "Jim, would you really kill him?" she finally asked. "Since now you have a classification of secrecy, I'll say straight out, no. We don't kill people, we convince them to do what we want. Sometimes you have to act tough, as you saw, but they always agree in the end. Because of your affair, I had to coordinate the plan with my boss in Washington. So it was you and Rob who came to Ted for the first time. You then intimidated him and told him to leave me alone, right?" asked Anne. "Yes, but he didn't listen. I think I should have been more convincing then," I said. "Were you the one who took my panties the first time?" asked Anne. "They were on his dresser, so yes, I picked them up," I replied. "Will Ted be tried now? Will I have to testify? What about you?" she asked. "And I repeat again, this is classified information and must be kept. Look what happens. The local police will charge Ted with drugging in 2 cases of sexual intercourse, and he will spend some time in jail waiting. There will be no lawyer, no bail, no publicity. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department revokes his American passport. Then he will be quietly handed over to us marshals, who will put him on a plane and escort him to Switzerland. The Swiss Immigration Service will receive a copy of his confession and arrest file. All this will be kept secret from the press so that no one finds out about your affair. There will be no trial, you will not have to testify, but you will have to write an official statement in which you speak under a pseudonym so that no one will get to the bottom of you. Ted will never be allowed back into the United States because he has criminal charges against him, and if he returns, he will be immediately arrested and imprisoned. He himself doesn't want it, so he'll never come back. Are you satisfied?" I asked. Wow. "I hope you never get angry with me," said Anne. "I was angry with you. But when you told everything, and it became clear that you were pumped full of drugs, and there was no mutual consent, I was able to forgive you. However, I have not forgotten about your kisses and caresses. We still have to talk about this. By the way, tomorrow morning you will have to go to work with me and sign state security papers. And then I will contact the boss in Washington and report everything. He wants to talk to you," I added. "Are you going to call the director of the CIA and I'll talk to him?" asked Anne. "Yes. Do you remember the best man at our wedding?" I asked. "Yes, it was your friend from the army when you fought in the Middle East. I think his name was George. But we haven't talked to him since then," Anne said. "Now you two can talk when I call him," I said. "You mean—" she began, but I nodded. After breakfast, I drove Anne to her work, and she took her letter to the HR department. She explained what happened and said that Mr. Newsome was in prison. She was told she could take sick leave or time off to recover, and it would not affect her basic annual leave. Then I took her to the police station to give a statement. I stayed in the car because I didn't want the detective to recognize me. I called the office and told them where I was. Fortunately, there were no urgent matters. When Anne returned to the car a few hours later, she said that the detective wanted to know who I worked for the government, but she refused to answer. He got angry and demanded answers. Anne said he needed the proper security clearance form before she said anything. They argued for a long time, then the detective called someone. A man in a suit came to the police station and sat alone with him. After this, Anne was assigned a set of numbers and letters instead of a name, and she quickly completed her testimony. It was already late, so I called the office and said that I would come tomorrow with Anne to sign the papers. They prepared forms for her under the State Security Act. In the morning, Anne prepared breakfast, and we sent the children to school. I took her to our office in Denver. He introduced her to his team, gave her to read and sign papers under the Official Secrets Act. Then I dialed the boss's number in Washington on the encrypted line. "Mason is listening," he answered. "George, this is Jim from Denver." I introduced myself. "How did your plan go?" he asked. "Everything worked exactly as I described." "Are you all right there?" I clarified. "There are only bureaucrats in the State Department. I had to take advantage of personal debts, but you are worth it." As soon as I interested them in the matter, they agreed. This type of passport arrived by overnight mail. The State Department said to throw him into a burning bag. And there were also hemorrhoids with a detective in the police major could not persuade him, so I sent a federal marshal there. "Now he understands everything," George explained. "Yes, yesterday the detective kept Anne at his place all day. I didn't even manage to get to work." "Okay. She's with me today and has already signed a non-disclosure document," I said. "Great. Did she take the oath?" he asked. "No, I thought you would want it yourself," I answered and handed the phone to Anne. "Hello, this is Anne," she said. "Hello, Anne. This is George Mason. I hope you remember me from your wedding. Now raise your right hand and repeat after me," he said. Anne looked at me and Janice. We nodded, and she raised her hand. I heard her repeat the words of the oath that George read to her over the phone. "Anne, promise me you won't get into trouble again." "I may retire someday, and my successor may not be so lenient," said George. "I promise. You can't imagine how much all this scared me. Besides, now I have my own man in black who makes sure that I don't go astray," she replied. "I think we need to make time for a vacation. Jim promised to take me fishing in your mountains. And you owe me now, so entertain my wife," George said. "I'll be glad," said Anne, and the connection was interrupted. Mr. Newsome spent only 3 days in jail before being put on a plane to Europe. He was accompanied by a U.S. Marshal all the way to Basel. At the Swiss border, the Marshal handed over all the documents to the head of the Immigration Service and said that Newsome could no longer return to the United States. I don't know what happened to him next. The management of the pharmaceutical company took over the management of the plant until a new director was sent from Switzerland. Anne was afraid that she would have to testify at the trial, but the trial never happened. Our sex life improved that same evening. Anne literally goes out of her way to make me happy. I forgave her, but she insists that she wants to make amends to me for the rest of her life. I don't mind. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.